TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. You know, a lot of hosts, they can just let the music go, and, you know, you hear the music for about 2 minutes, and then you hear the host, "Good afternoon, everybody." For some reason, I cannot do that.
Well, I also think that you've got ants in your pants until 2 o'clock hits, so you are not going to waste a single second.
I have a lot of ants in a lot of places, including my pants, and I have a lot of things in my pants.
Else do
At
you have
2
ants?
Everywhere.
You got ants in your shoes?
Everywhere. Oh, my shoes. Don't get me started. We'll get into that one day. Jared's first encounter with athlete's foot.
Oh, no.
It was
pretty brutal.
Boom! John Madden, you know, it's anywho.
Woo!
But yeah, Ric Flair was in practice today. So, Titans day 2 practice. Before we get to this, I do have to kind of grab my pad because of what happened. We'll give you a full report. Okay, see, got my pad out. Nothing. That's what happened today at Titans practice. I am being a little facetious here. So, I want to start with this. First of all, Caroline, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Outstanding. Ian, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so I was wondering if he was going to ask what up like he normally does, and I was going to say nothing at practice today. I am not going to complain about Titans practice because it's just such a joy to be out there every day. Like, I truly, honestly, I don't think people understand this. I think what I am, like my desire to cover practice or my excitement to be at practice, because I'm not like everybody else. Like, when they're stretching and stuff, my phone's not coming out to put up a video of, you know, here's Robert Woods chopping his feet, or I don't care about that.
It's good for the clicks.
Right.
People love football players just bending over and stretching.
And that's their jobs.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it is the job of the people that take those videos and things like that.
We love content.
Like A to Z Sports. It is their job. Like that. They make money off of that, which is good. Like, that is what they, for me, it's what happened at practice, looking at it, analyzing it, breaking it down, everything else. My excitement to be at practice, I think in large part, is guided by the fans' excitement to talk about the Titans and to hear about what happened at practice. And I was telling people today, because people will say, well, you can't get too excited about one practice. Or Joe, did you hear me this morning on the morning show?
Yes, I did. It was
Joe,
awfully spirited.
Joe, all mad about it. It's one practice, Jared. I'm like, think about it this way. We do 4 hours after the first practice. We do 4 hours after the second practice. We do 4 hours after the Cincinnati game. It's all
4 hours
the same
every day,
for
whether
us.
there's stuff to talk about or not.
And so I think you can back me up on this. My excitement to talk about the Cincinnati game and my excitement to talk about practice is the same. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty jazzed up about practice.
Oh, you are very jazzed up about practice, but I would say like a Titans Monday, you can't reach that excitement on any other day.
I got to
but
yesterday.
you are more excited about practice than a lot of other people would be.
You don't think that I had that yesterday? Like,
You were
Titans
excited.
Monday excited.
Titans Monday
I think I
excited
did,
is like
yeah.
a different level.
I think I had that level of excitement. And that goes back to my point. I think anybody can do radio the day after a game. It's harder to do radio, whatever. So a lot of people are going to tell you that today's Titans practice was absolutely unequivocally boring. And there is a little bit of truth to that. But I, today, decided to go watch the offensive linemen and then a little bit of the offensive and defensive linemen. So what they really did today was they ran their conditioning test on Monday. They practiced hard yesterday. And unlike something that I would probably do if I was trying to get out there and compete, they are taking it slow, which is what they should do. I guess I'm talking about myself. I injure myself all the time now. So I'm not one to talk about ramping it up slowly and getting into it. And so today, what they did was a lot of technique stuff. They did a lot of like running through the plays and jogging through them, which, as Vrabel said, there's no winner and no loser when they do that. And since Vrabel's the most competitive guy on the planet, I don't think Mike Vrabel will. This is not Little League soccer. He's not telling you everybody's a winner after practice. He will never tell you that. But in this case, it was so light that they didn't do that kind of stuff. But I went and I watched the offensive and defensive line, specifically the offensive line. And I have a very scientific system for coming up with how guys performed well or how guys didn't perform. Cannot tell you what my scientific system is because I've already kind of run afoul of the law yesterday, and I cannot tell you my scientific form. But Caroline, I would like you, as somebody who does know the scientific form, to back up for the audience that my formula for coming up who's doing well on the offensive line is better than if it were to just be me looking at it and then coming on the air and telling you all that.
It's better. Yeah.
It's not perfect.
It is not perfect by any means, but it is better.
It's not
than just
perfect.
using the naked eye.
I will tell you, this is what I have learned from my gathering of the offensive line today. All the guys who are veterans, those guys, their technique, what the coaches are asking them to do, those guys are handling it and handling it well. Ben Jones does a rep. Good job, Ben Jones. He does well. He moves on. Lawan does a rep. Lawan moves on. Nate Davis does a rep. For the most part, Nate Davis moved on. What I was interested to look at was obviously Radence Brewer, Jamarco Jones, and Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. And I hadn't even really given much of a thought to Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. I don't know why I haven't given much of a thought to him, but I haven't really given much of a thought to Petit-Ferrer winning a job at one of the tackle positions. I think we can assume which tackle position that would be. But what I was really impressed with was Aaron Brewer's technique today, and Mike Vrabel even talked about his technique after practice a little bit. Aaron Brewer's technique, in my opinion, I thought was really good today. I thought that, for what they're asking him to do, I thought he did a good job. And I felt like they felt that way too. Radence, and right now, because they don't have pads on, and most people say, well, you can't tell offensive or defensive linemen without pads. True for the most part, but for instance, let's use basketball for, you can't tell if anybody's a great basketball player or that they would play great team basketball one-on-one. I think the average person could tell if somebody is good one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And so without the pads on with Radence, I felt like his technique was not terrible, but I felt like something had to be corrected almost every offensive line rep. So like one offensive lineman or two offensive linemen would be pushing against one guy. And the guy on the close end to me was the defensive guy. And at one point, Petit-Ferrer was just kind of standing there and not really giving resistance. And I know that they wanted Petit-Ferrer to give resistance. I felt like every time Radence went, part of his technique was off or something had to be corrected that I didn't like. Not saying that the coaches corrected it. I'm just saying, I thought something had to be corrected. I thought Jamarco Jones, his technique needed to be corrected a couple of times. I was surprised Petit-Ferrer. Now, they talked to, I don't know what they said to him or what they did to coach him up, but I didn't feel like his technique needed to be as corrected as much as Dylan Radence's did. Now, maybe I'm just being a little too critical on Dylan Radence because I expect, and this is my opinion based off of nothing that other than just my thoughts, I expect that Dylan Radence is going to be given every opportunity to be the starting right tackle of this team. And so if on every little play, Dylan Radence's technique is just a little bit off, I could see the idea of, again, this is me thinking, Lawan, he's fine. Jones, he's fine. Davis, he's fine. Some of the other, young guys don't really matter that much. I wouldn't waste my time watching all of their techniques. But Radence, his technique really matters because he's probably going to have to play.
He's vying for the starting right tackle job.
And so I feel like Dylan Radence has a long way to go. And that doesn't mean that Dylan Radence won't be ready to start the season. In fact, I thought about that and what Mike Vrabel said at the Combine with the fact at the time that Dylan Radence, according to Vrabel, wasn't ready to be the right tackle at that point, but that Vrabel was charging Keith Carter, the coach, with the job, the task of getting Dylan Radence ready to play. And so I'm not saying that I'm concerned. I'm obviously concerned because I've never seen the guy play right tackle in the NFL. I wouldn't say I'm concerned about Dylan Radence's technique, but I would say that I feel like his technique of the projected starters, his technique absolutely needs the most work. And it was pretty obvious to me watching today that he needs that work in practice. Aaron Brewer, I'm not convinced needs that kind of technique work. I think the problem with Aaron Brewer is he's just too little. But Radence, I think the technique needs a lot of work. Petit Ferrer, I was surprised as far as technique was concerned, at least the way I was judging it. I was surprised at where I felt like Petit Ferrer was compared to Radence. And I'll tell you, I think we might have a legitimate right tackle battle on our hands between those two guys. And I don't know if they'll feel comfortable with either one of them. Maybe the technique with both of them is not going to be good enough. Maybe their power or whatever it is isn't going to be good enough. And then the Titans are really going to be in a hole. And John Robinson said yesterday or 2 days ago that they won't know that until they put the pads on. But I would say that was of a practice where it was really, I'm trying to think of the right word to say this, where it wasn't intense. That was my big takeaway, was the offensive line and the technique of the guys on the offensive line. And that even though I believe the Titans have talked themselves into Radence at right tackle, and even though I think the fans have talked themselves into Radence at right tackle and are okay with Radence at right tackle, I am concerned about how much of the technique I felt needed correcting.
There are a lot of things I want to say, but I don't know if they're allowed, so I'm not going to say them. But I do go back to what Mike Vrabel said yesterday, and said that the left guard and the right tackle positions are both open. So even if you have a player that you think may be a front runner to take that position, if we want to take what Mike Vrabel says as Bible, which we don't necessarily always do, but What else are we going to go off of? Those positions are still open. There is still a competition for those positions.
I'm a little torn on this because I would agree with you. I do believe that the battle at left guard is Brewer and Jones, Jamarco Jones. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I haven't seen enough of where guys are lining up to be able to tell you that's what's happening at practice, and I'm not telling you that. But that's just what I think it is. And I think Vrabel kind of said that 2 days ago.
And also process of elimination.
Right.
Based off of the information that we all know.
I do think the one thing, the outside is a possibility at either spot. That is, once they start putting the pads on and they start doing the thumping, if Raden's technique isn't good enough, then I could see the Titans going out and signing, just like last year when Raden's obviously wasn't good enough, and they had Bobby Hart on the practice squad, and then when they needed a tackle, Bobby Hart was the one who got in there over Raden's. I could see them doing that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes a possibility. I think it's a possibility to them, though I don't know that.
Yeah.
But for right now, I mean, I think that those four, all the other guys, Jones, again, Ben Jones, Taylor Lewan, and Nate Davis are starting on the Titans' offensive line. We all know that's going to be the case no matter what, barring an injury. The other two spots are somewhat interesting, and I think those are the four guys that they right now view as potentials to play. Now, Corey Levin's on the roster. He's a backup guard. He's always been a backup guard. I don't think 6 years into the league they're going to change their mind on Corey Levin and all of a sudden make him a starting guard. So that's kind of where I am on this. 615-737-1025. If you got offensive line questions, we can get them in. One thing I noticed about Radence was in one drill where they were pushing the other offensive lineman who was defensive resistance, the guys like Lewan did a really good job.
I did notice that.
Of turning the corner on the guy. So they wanted him to push and then turn. And what they didn't want was they didn't want the guy to kind of, the offensive lineman, the tackle, to sprint him and then jerk the guy because that is holding. So they didn't want him to sprint and jerk the guy. And I think a couple of times Radence got caught jerking the guy around and Petit Ferrer did not. So I noticed that as well. So add that in there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Other big takeaways. Josh Malone had a good catch. Racey McMath had a nice little diving catch, again, on air versus no defense. They got pluses. Can't tell you why they got pluses, but I'll just tell you that they got pluses from me. And then the team jog through is, in all seriousness, what I think normally happens during a real week of in-season practice, where as opposed to, we're really thumping at him today, it's more so okay, this guy right here is Randy Moss, and we're going to double Randy Moss, Every time that Randy Moss is isolated over here and they'll run trips on the other side and then they jog through the play so the defensive players know where they're supposed to go, that is what I think a standard practice is.
Right.
That was what today was. And again, there was no real competitive aspect to that. Punt returning, I didn't think there was any real competitive aspect to today. Just guys back there catching punts. In the jog throughs, Tannehill threw the ball to the tight ends a couple of times. So there you go for all you tight end people. 615-737-1025. I was excited to be there. I think I learned some stuff today in practice. It was not an overwhelmingly eventful day of practice. And we're not going to spend 4 hours on today's practice like we did yesterday. Though TD will be here at the top of the hour. We'll get TD's thoughts from the first two practices for the TD Power Hour. If you've got a thought or a question, get it in 615-737-1025 is the phone number. That's the day 2 practice report. 615-737-1025. What Mike Vrabel said about the offensive linemen and their technique. And we did give out plus and minuses today, so we'll go through that as well. Stillman and Company right here. 1025 The Game. Let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love those guys. They've taken great care of my home for years, and I promise that they can do the exact same for you. That's right. Hiller, they are fantastic, and they're celebrating the home of the free all month long. And again, like I said, July's almost over, so you got to get in right now. This month only, take advantage of free whole home surge protection and interest-free financing for 12 months with the purchase of a new whole home generator. Free programmable thermostat and interest-free financing for up to 48 months on select new HVAC units. Free water sensor leak detection and interest-free financing for 12 months when you buy a new tankless water heater. And all of these purchases come with a free Happy Hiller Club membership, which I have. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services free guarantee, and they're only happening in July, so customers should call as soon as possible. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
So many people here are getting real lasting joint pain relief from QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I would recommend QC to anybody.
The work that QC Kinetics did paid off exponentially.
It brought me back to an effective age of almost in my 20s and 30s.
QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge regenerative medicine, natural biologics from your own body, precision treatments that can restore and repair damaged tissue in your aching joints, with no meds, no steroids, no drugs, and no downtime.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain.
It is a all-natural therapy. You're using you to fix you.
I got my life back. I got my smile back. And best of all, I got my laugh back.
Don't live with that pain anymore. And don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Learn more about regenerative options from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Parman Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Parman Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution providing totally outrageous customer service.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Guys, Dylan, Nicholas, Brewer, and the technique that they're showing, even though they're not wearing pads right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, we talk about pads being for protection and being able to do your job or make plays with your hands, whether that's a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman at any position. So their ability to punch, to replace, to get their backside hand, in the sternum, wherever it needs to be on certain blocks, I think that it's been good. It's improved, but we're just getting started. So I think some of that stuff will continue to show, and we can evaluate it, next week, especially as we get pads on. But they're able to practice all the techniques that they're going to need, just maybe not some of the contact and some of the shoulder contact that comes in on some blocks. Not all blocks.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel today talking about it is important for the offensive lineman, even without the pads on, because the head coach can't say, well, it doesn't matter with them if they don't have pads on. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think for the younger guys, the Dylan Radenses and the Nicholas Petit-Ferrers, I think it does matter that at this stage that they can do what the coach is asking them to do. And that gets corrected right now before you put the pads on. Because if an offensive lineman makes a mistake in training camp, an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, a linebacker, if one of those guys makes a mistake in a padded training camp, Derrick Henry could get hurt. Mm-hmm. And as Floyd used to always tell me, it's always the bad players that injure the good players. Every time. So, with that, it's time for our daily plus-minus. Who got a plus? Who got a minus? For all the players that you all care about, there was not a lot to pick from. I think you can kind of back me up on that one.
Yeah, it was uneventful.
Racey McMath got a plus today because he made a diving catch. And I can't tell you necessarily why I'm giving you a plus, but if I could tell you why I'm giving McMath a plus on this one, you guys would be like, sounds like a plus for McMath. Same thing for Josh Malone, who had a great catch in stride. Now, this was against nobody on air, and so the quarterback had to put the ball in the right spot, and it had to be caught. But what I saw Malone do today was he caught a deep ball and ran through the catch. It wasn't like he slowed up for the ball. It wasn't that he caught it, then he slowed. He ran through the catch, made the catch, and accelerated out of it, which I really, really liked. Josh Malone got a plus. Aaron Brewer got a plus today. I thought Aaron Brewer's technique was very good. There was a specific drill where there were the 3 interior offensive linemen, and I thought Aaron Brewer, for the group that he was with, was the star of that group. Nate Davis got a plus today in a drill in which I gave both guys pluses. Deshaun Hand and Nate Davis both got a plus, in my opinion. And I think anybody who would have been coaching that drill would have given both guys a plus with how they performed on that one. So Nate Davis got a plus. Carson Green, an offensive lineman, he's in his first year out of Texas A&M. The Titans got him from the Texans. He got a minus today. Now, needs a little work on the technique. Jordan Roos, who I remember he was on the practice squad last year, and we talked about him in that Dylan Radens 49ers game, maybe having to come up off the practice squad. We had no idea who he was, never seen him do anything this way or another. I'm going to say this. He and Jeffrey Simmons today, there was a little, O-line, D-line, a little macho.
Tussle?
And he held his ground on Jeffrey Simmons. And if you hold your ground on Jeffrey Simmons to me, you get a plus. So he gets a plus for that. Jalen Mckenzie. I like this Jalen Mckenzie. Number 71. He's 6'5". He's 310 pounds. He's a tackle. Now, I have no idea if he's any good or not. He was an undrafted free agent, but I like him. I like the size. I like the body. And he was doing some pushing today, and I thought the coaches would have liked his technique a little bit, so I gave Jalen Mckenzie a plus. Taylor Lewan got a plus today. Taylor Lewan could have had like 2 or 3 pluses. I thought, Taylor Lewan very solid today from what I saw. And again, I was only watching offensive and a little bit of defensive line, and I didn't see all of it. The full disclosure. Nicholas Petit-Frere got a plus today on pushing a guy back and doing it with good technique.
The more and more I see Nicholas Petit-Frere, the more and more I like him.
I'm just telling you. My Kyler Murray Jedi Knight skills.
Yes. Did you do 4 hours of prep for this?
No, I just see it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
but
that's right.
I just see it before it happens.
Yes, psychic Kyler Murray.
This is just me. I had nothing to do with the team. I wonder if the Titans are considering Petit-Frere at right tackle. And as far as Radens is concerned. But he got a plus. Josh Malone got a plus. Deshaun Hand, who I remember when he was at Alabama, and it felt like it was 10 years ago. Apparently it was 5 years ago. Deshaun Hand was at Alabama. Deshaun Hand got a plus. He and Nate Davis, as I said earlier, they went at each other, got a plus. Dylan Radens got 2 minuses today.
With your system, which we don't know if it's necessarily 100% the best possible system.
Oh, I think it is by far the best possible
maybe
system.
Possible system,
I don't think
it's not the best system, but it is the best that we can do with what we've got.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I felt like Dylan has to correct a lot of his technique a lot. Mm-hmm. There'd be one play, and I would feel like Dylan would need to correct his technique. And then there'd be another drill, and I would feel like Dylan would need to correct his technique. And you know what Vrabel said. It's all teaching. It's look at the film and go from there and then make adjustments. But today, Carson Green got a minus, and Dylan Radens got 2 minuses, which means Dylan Radens had the worst day, at least according to the system. 615-737-1025. If you got your offensive line thoughts, go ahead and get them in. We'll get to those. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Simmons. What Jeffrey Simmons wouldn't say told me everything that I or you all need to know. Explain what that is next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
I'm Joe Namath, here to tell you about another number 12. USA Hemp Store's original number 12. USA Hemp Store cream is hypoallergenic and uses an easy-to-apply blend of ingredients designed to go on gently. And with no odor, no one knows you've got it on. Except you, of course.
The original number 12 CBD creams. Grown in the USA, THC-free, lab-tested. And a portion of every sale supports Homes for Veterans Incorporated.
USA Hemp Store's original number 12 works like it does for me.
With this special Joe Namath offer, get the original number 12 just $34.95. Free shipping on every order. Distributorships available. Call to learn more. 844-305-1212. 844-305-1212. Or visit usahempstore.com. usahempstore.com. THC-free is below the level of detection using validated scientific methods. Alexa Labs June 2022 certification analysis. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees about the results of taking any action, whether recommended in this advertisement or not. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees nor any endorsements concerning any of its products. Paid endorsement.
Throwback Thursdays with the Nashville Sounds are the best way to spend a summer night. Enjoy $2 and $3 drink specials throughout the park, or take the Ice Shot Challenge at the Bandbox. First pitch against the Charlotte Knights is at 7:05. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford.
When this hot summer weather comes, I'm reminded of what my grandmother used to say. It's so hot outside, the hens are using pot holders to pick up the worms. I was never really sure what that meant, but when she said it, I knew it was hot. I mean, if things are hot, that tells you something, and it's not always good. Take your car, for example. If it's running hot, something's wrong. If your air conditioner, like so many people, is blowing hot these days, something's wrong. When your tires get hot, they wear out faster, which means something's wrong. But here at Newton, we want to help right those wrongs. We have an amazing service department that'll keep your car running its best through all this heat. We have amazing technicians ready to diagnose and repair your car no matter what the problem is. We want to keep your car running smoothly in the easiest way possible. So let us help. Schedule your service online today at newtonford.com.
Jump into the thrill at Bally's Evansville Casino with 24-hour gaming excitement, 3 dining options, and 2 first-class hotels. Plan your casino getaway now at Bally'sEvansville.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Mike said that he expects Jeffrey to be out there tomorrow. Is there anything going on contract-wise with him?
No, I mean I talked to agents with a lot of our players. I've talked with his representation, and we've got an understanding of where we're at, and he's excited to be back and ready to rock and roll.
Where you are, anywhere close to a new deal, or are you proceeding under the current terms?
Yeah, we don't really talk about contracts, and I've said that before. I think that's a matter between the club and the agent and the player, and that's how we'll keep it here.
We're not going to talk contracts, which is the perfect way for every contract. And I think we can all agree with John Robinson that John Robinson's not going to talk contracts, except for when he does talk contracts, like tells Jim Wyatt, we want to sign AJ to a contract, but that John Robinson doesn't talk contracts. When they want to talk contracts, they'll just have Diana Rossini talk the contracts for them. Now, what about Simmons? What about Simmons and Simmons' contract? I was standing there when Simmons was ready to talk, and so I went all in. And by the way, let me say this. I got criticized by the media. And by the media, I mean by John Glennon. But I think there were some people with John Glennon that were like pro John Glennon side of this, that I should have worked in the Jeffrey Simmons contract thing instead of just being like, so, well, hear for yourself. This was the beginning of Jeffrey Simmons' media availability or on the field after practice.
Jeff, how you feeling about your contract situation right now?
I'm not talking about contract. I'm in camp, worrying about football.
Would you like to see something done if?
I am not talking about contract. I'm focused on football. I'm in camp. I'm here. I'm trying to be the best I could be as a football player. Everything else take care of itself.
Okay, so you all probably heard that in your cars or on your Alexa speakers or on the video streamer, and you probably thought, oh, man, he shut that one down, Jared. He didn't say anything, right?
No.
Because I completely think he told me everything I need to know. The only thing fans care about when it comes to talking about a contract is the fear that a contract won't get done or that someone doesn't want to be there or that it's going to be a problem with the team. In Simmons' case, we know Simmons wants to be here. There's no discontent with Simmons and the Titans. And even if he doesn't want to be here, too freaking bad. He's under contract this year, next year, and they'll franchise tag him for the next year. Jeffrey Simmons is a Titan for the next 3 years. But, as we saw with AJ, if you're mad about your contract, and I'm talking about you, the player can make it a problem for everybody and make it a distraction and make it an issue and make it a...
That's also a personality difference as well.
Agreed. So when but instead of assuming that Jeffrey Simmons would never do that...
You know what that does?
When Jeffrey Simmons says, I'm not talking contract, I'm focused on football, what that tells me is that training camp he'll be focused on football. Week 1 he'll be focused on football. Week 5 he'll be focused on football. Week 16 he'll be focused on football. At the Super Bowl he'll be focused on football. And then when all that's over and he's going to be on the option, then they can talk it out. And maybe, we'll hear Diana Rossini says the Titans want to make him the highest paid tackle in the league, or, Simmons wants to be the highest paid tackle in the league, or Simmons wants Gary, whatever. But for anybody out there, and Gentry Estes wrote a piece about the idea of Simmons holding in, DK Metcalf is holding in, Deebo Samuel is holding in. There's some other player that Adam Schefter tweeted about yesterday. I can't remember. That player's holding in. For all of that, we know Simmons isn't holding in because he's out there. No, I said Deebo.
Oh.
But somebody else.
Deebo, DK.
And it's like a defensive player.
Yeah.
And, but as far as Simmons' contract being any kind of an issue this season, that right there told me that the answer is no. So when John Glennon says, you got to work them into it as opposed to, I respectfully disagree because I believe Simmons told us all we need to know. And that is, I'm focused on football, contract, put it off to the side, and I'm focused on football, which means that when they're getting ready to play the Giants, he's going to be focused on the Giants. This isn't going to be T.O. doing sit-ups in his driveway.
But when does that change? Because Jeffrey Simmons can say all day, I'm not talking to you about my contract. I'm not talking to the media about my contract. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't contract negotiations going on the inside with him and his team.
So I think that Jeffrey Simmons, and this maybe goes back to the personality standpoint, it would be very
disadvantageous?
That's not a word.
Why not?
It would not be advantageous to Simmons. I was thinking like disadvantageous, but disadvantageous.
Not advantageous.
Yeah, so it's not advantageous. It would not be advantageous to Jeffrey Simmons to say at the start of training camp, I'm not worried about my contract, and then by week 9, be worried about the contract.
He didn't say I'm not worried about my contract. He said I'm not talking about my contract.
Agreed. But for it to be a distraction, the player has to talk about his contract.
But I don't think he wants it to be a distraction.
That's my point.
Which is a good thing.
That's all I need to know. And you asked, when does that stop? The Super Bowl, when the season is over, and then we can talk about the contract.
But I still go back to, I'm not talking about my contract. I don't want to talk about my contract with you.
I'm focused on football.
I'm focused on football, yes, of course. And then also another thought that I have on that is, how does that make us feel about what Derrick Henry said in OTAs? Where, compared to a couple years ago when he said, I'm not talking about my contract, I want to focus on football, so on and so forth. Fast forward to now at OTAs when he said, everyone wants a raise or everyone wants a job promotion.
Sure.
Where he made it about his contract. Mm-hmm. So how do we feel about that then?
So this is a very...
And I don't blame Derrick Henry for bringing that up at all.
This is a very important lesson about how the NFL calendar works. The off-season period is what we call me season, and the in-season period is what we call we season.
Uh-huh.
So there's me season and there's we season. Notice how nobody asked Derrick about his contract today, including me. It'd be very easy for me to ask, hey, Derrick, I asked you 6 weeks ago about your contract, and you said you were working on one and wanted one. What about now? But I didn't because I don't care, because I know that Derrick is we season, not me season. So there is a difference there.
Yeah.
Between the me season and the we season. And when Simmons, the me players sometimes make we season about me. Terrell Owens is the most obvious example.
Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not sure he he would go on Pat McAfee and talk about, after the season, I might retire.
It's always
after
me
the
season.
It's
always me season.
Right on that one. Derwin James. My buddy Adam texted me. Derwin James is the hold-in player on defense.
Yes.
Simmons, focused on football, not talking about the contract. That's all the talking I need to hear about the contract. Let's get to some of your phones. 615-737-1025, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. On practice, Simmons, whatever. It's on the table. Let it rock.
Taylor texts in and says, I didn't realize how small Aaron Brewer was until you pointed it out yesterday. I get that his technique is good, but I don't see how he'll be able to contain a Vita Vea from busting through the line.
So this is the one thing that I do wonder about Aaron Brewer, which is there are undersized players that become great players all the time. Russell Wilson is an example of an undersized player who was picked in the 3rd round because he was undersized and has become a great player. The problem for me with Brewer is if Brewer had size, Brewer would be the starting left guard and probably would have been the starting left guard last year. But he doesn't. So the Titans are going to have to think about, okay, we know Aaron Brewer can fill in on a 1 or 2 game basis. And he did a good job against the Baltimore Ravens in 2020, and that was a defensive line that had Calais Campbell on it. The difference becomes, can he do it every week? Can he go from – because if you've got a weak link in your offensive line or you've got something as a team on your offensive line that the other team thinks they can take advantage of, they're just going to take their best defensive lineman and put it over that guy.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of this guy's a left defensive end, not so much. Like if I'm thinking about, week 2, Ed Oliver, Buffalo Bills, probably going to find his way to Aaron Brewer if Aaron Brewer's at left guard.
Right.
2 games against DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner found his way to Jameel Douglas, the third-string offensive tackle that had to start the first 4 or 5 games of the 2019 season. Shocking that Calais Campbell and Buckner was in San Francisco. That Autry and Calais Campbell and those guys just found their way to Jameel Douglas every single time. Stunning, I know. That will happen. And then the question has to be, can Aaron Brewer hold up against the big guys week in and week out? And you have to have it if you're the Titans because, again, they play Indianapolis, who has a great defensive tackle. And the Jacksonville Jaguars just took a giant defensive tackle with the number 1 overall pick. And so it's going to be a week in and week out thing for them. And that is the question. If Brewer had size, the Titans would not be worried about him. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, I think the Titans did a great job assessing a lot of depth issues in the offseason, but there is one major position I feel like they're still lacking at.
Hold on, let me guess. Tackle.
No.
Okay, let me guess again. I can't think of it.
This one kind of surprised me. Linebacker.
Like inside linebacker?
Linebacker. It says Dupree, Landry, and Adani are nearly exclusively edge rushers, so really the only true linebackers you have are Zach Cunningham, Monty Rice, and David Long Jr. All 3 have to go greatly to stay on the field. At this point in the year, I don't believe there's really anybody out there that could even come in and help boost that core.
I think that they're fine at linebacker. I don't. Middle linebacker is not a premium position to me. And they have
saying
2 guys
that you have
that I think are pretty good. So.
3 solid edge rushers, that's not a problem to me that I feel like needs fixing. To me, that's an advantage.
I mean, I would say they have 4 edge rushers that they probably trust right now. Weaver with Landry, Dupree, and Ola Adani.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your 5th edge rusher is not going to be a good player. And your 5th middle linebacker is not going to be a good player. I am fine with the middle linebacker depth of the Titans. I'm fine with the outside linebacker depth of the Titans. If either one of those guys, Dupree or Landry, gets hurt, the Titans are screwed. So that would be almost at any position that they have. One of the main guys
that would be any team in this league. If you lose your 2 top guys, you're screwed.
Right. I mean, if the Titans lose Burks and Woods, they're screwed.
Yeah.
That's football. 615-737-1025. As everybody probably knows, I have no problem with these 18 level 1 violations that the University of Tennessee has to deal with. No problem. I think the NCAA should throw the book at Tennessee. But one coach, I mean, we got to talk about this. One coach decided to pop off, and I think I might have to take Tennessee's side. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5 The Game.
Join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee. We're teaming up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area for back to school. Our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. To help, go to thegamenashville.com/shoes. Let's do some good this summer. Newton Motor Group is a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville. Start at Newton. Visit thegamenashville.com/shoes.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible this afternoon. High 91, heat index 101. We will be cooler the rest of the week.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
For the first time, saddle up in Smashville. 6:30 this Saturday at Nissan Stadium. for WWE SummerSlam. See undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns face Brock Lesnar in a last man standing match. Liv Morgan defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Pat McAfee vows to shut down Happy Corbin and more. Receipts are still available and tickets start at $25 at Ticketmaster.
Attention furniture buyers. Social Furniture is having a huge summer blowout sale in all departments. Don't wait, buy now. Your new furniture can be delivered the same day. At Social Furniture, our professional staff is ready to serve you with your furniture purchase. Summer is the best time to buy new furniture at Social Furniture. The savings are spectacular. For a limited time, Social Furniture is offering special financing for up to 60 months. That's right, up to 60 months. Don't wait. Visit Social Furniture today to save.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE. 615-895-HOSE.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. Ricky LeBlanc, Chestnut Hill, Mass. Admitted in Massachusetts only. While this firm maintains joint responsibility, most cases of this type are referred to other attorneys for principal responsibility. Members, Paul J. Morgan, Winter Park, Florida. Nick Neiswander, Florence, Kentucky. Rich Grabo, 970 Farmington Avenue, West Hartford, Connecticut. 860-904-7789. Michael Bo Gonzalez, admitted Louisiana. Filing number LA-22-13614. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other attorneys. I am a paid non-attorney spokesperson.
Attention U.S. Marines. Veterans were exposed to toxic chemicals in the drinking water on Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987. Exposure to these chemicals increased the risk for cancer, birth defects, and other serious health problems. If you or a loved one were exposed to contaminated water on Camp Lejeune, you may be entitled to compensation. A new law gives legal rights to those harmed. It is not too late to take action. Call Sokolov Law now for a free legal consultation at 1-800-458-5400. 1-800-458-5400. 1-800-458-5400.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
I thought you were going to introduce my record, but with the latest allegations against Tennessee, let's hold up on what my record is because I expect them to vacate some wins, and that's going to help my record a little bit. Okay?
Oh, man, this is getting better. This is getting so much better. Can I ask you, I wasn't necessarily going to go there, but you would be the beneficiary of that. Since you brought it up, can I get your reaction to the latest allegations against Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I got to question my wife's commitment to winning. You know, I mean, I don't know how much she's committed if she's not engaging in some of these things. I didn't know that was fair play. So, we got to, it was a little bit surprising to see the in-depth nature of what was going on there. But I am sure glad that Tennessee was taking some ownership of it, and we'll see what the results are. But it's pretty interesting for sure.
My man, if I were you, I'd walk off right now, and then you can go down as the best guest ever. Eli, one more thought about that. It's one thing to say that I didn't know that my wife could get involved and help me cheat. Well, that's not what you said, but I'll say that. Even better that she did she not used to have some sort of compliance responsibility where she had been previously as well? One thing to have the wife involved, but what if she was involved also in compliance and making sure that they follow the rules, allegedly? How much better does that make it?
I mean, it's pressure does crazy things to people, and there's a lot of pressure to win in the SEC. So I don't know, that's crazy.
Eli Drinkwitz and Jim Rome, whoa, taking rocket shots at Tennessee right there. Let me say this: I would not have a problem with a good coach taking a rocket shot. It's like I thought that the Jim Rome follow-up.
I would.
If Steve Spurrier took a rocket shot at
Do
Tennessee.
not clutch your pearls Kirby Smart or Jimbo Fisher or any other coach in the SEC
totally
that undeniably has done the exact same things that Jeremy Pruitt did, if not worse. Nobody is innocent.
How do you know
here.
that Kirby Smart did that? I'm just saying. Like when Steve Spurrier
I don't know that Kirby Smart did that, but he's got a lot of really good players on his team.
Go ahead and accuse.
Do you think anyone is innocent?
Yes.
Oh, please. Who?
Kirby.
Can it? You know that's not true.
I think Kirby.
That tastes like vinegar coming out of your mouth.
I think Kirby is totally
Nobody is innocent.
I think Kirby is so about hard work that he wouldn't, even if he could, pay anybody $1 over $10,000
And he need
a
barf
month.
bag. A barf bag after what you just said.
I have no proof of that.
Georgia Homer.
I'll say this. If Steve Spurrier wants to go on his free shoes university rants, I have no problem with that. Steve Spurrier is a Hall of Famer. You and I both know that if Steve Spurrier was around and in college football, he would be ripping on Tennessee, and we'd all be laughing, and I'd be laughing too. But when I saw this Eli Drinkowitz on the Jim Rome show, no disrespect to Jim Rome, but Jim Rome has been gone from mainstream talk radio, and he's a Hall of Famer, but he's been mailing it in for 10 years. I mean, Ian, when's the last time you heard about Jim Rome?
Oh, man, 10 years?
And what's funny is, like, I don't think you remember the days that Jim Rome was, like, the GOAT.
I don't.
Oh, he was the GOAT. Like, Jim Rome was the man. Like, if you thought sports talk radio, it was Jim Rome across the country and then everybody else.
Whoa.
Like, it was like Jim Rome at the top.
Like, who would you compare him to now?
Then a giant gap, and then Mike and Mike. There's just not
so
enough.
many.
There's too many things now. There's
but
not
like
one.
someone at the top.
Stephen A.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
I mean, like that. Like he was Stephen A. Skip Bayless. He was Jim Rome. Was that?
Wow.
That was Jim Rome.
I don't remember that.
So Jim Rome's gone off to Planet Who Gives a Crap, and he interviews the most random freaking people. Like Jerry Stackhouse goes on the Jim Rome show. I don't want Jerry Stackhouse on this show.
And we are in Nashville.
So Jim Rome's gone off the land of who cares, and he brings on Eli Drinkowitz, who just randomly takes a giant crap on Tennessee football. And you know as well as I do that I am not anti-giant craps on Tennessee football. But I am by people who have zero resume. I remember Eli Drinkowitz, what feels like just yesterday. I remember Eli Drinkowitz as the offensive coordinator at NC State. And I remember those offenses weren't all that interesting. And so all of a sudden he's the coach at Missouri, and how did he get there?
Also is not all that interesting.
He has coached, I can't even believe this, he's coached 36 games in college football. 36 games. And then he goes on Jim Rome's show and says, my wife didn't do my recruiting. And you got Jim Rome with, oh, my God, that was remarkable. Remarkable. Oh, my God, that you would be the best guest of all time. Into the jungle. Go Rome. Romey, what did you think of that great comment that guest made? It's like, I heard this and I'm like, that is so stupid. Like, Eli Drinkowitz, learn your freaking place.
And also Jim Rome just taking his pants off for it.
And it's right, like Jim Rome was the GOAT. You know, what's funny is, and I don't know how Tennessee fans are reacting to this, and honestly, I don't care. I'm sure they got mad about it.
There was a certain Tennessee fan I know who said,
mad about
who the heck is this guy?
Whatever. I don't care. I don't care what Tennessee fans thought about it. They will get mad about everything. They probably got mad about this. My biggest issue is the audacity of Eli Drinkowitz to take pot shots when he's accomplished nothing in his career. But then, after listening to it, honestly, my bigger beef might be with Rome. Like, have some dignity. Jim Rome used to be the GOAT. He used to, like, I cannot stress this. This would be like Albert Pujols. And I would say Jim Rome and Albert Pujols' careers kind of align pretty well.
Albert's might be actually having a little bit better of a twilight here recently, but
I would agree. The twilight is better for Albert, but for about the last 10 years since Albert signed that Angels contract, Albert has been
it's not been
often
great.
Again, the land of who gives a crap.
This year's been the year of Pujols.
But I mean, Albert probably peaked around 2006. Jim Rome probably peaked around 2006. This would be like Albert Pujols having a bat flip for hitting a home run against the Sounds. Like, I mean, come on, Albert.
I mean, he sounds like Mizzou Tiger fan, 72 on Twitter. That was so awesome. You're the best guest ever, Eli.
That was remarkable, unbelievable. Into the jungle. I mean, the thing, I and you know me, I listen to every single sports talk radio show probably across the country. I was never a huge Rome fan, but Rome used to have some freaking teeth. And I used to like Rome. He had a TV show on ESPN. I used to like Rome's TV show. But I tried listening to Jim Rome like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's literally you hear him like moving the newspaper or something like in the background. You hear like paper sounds. And then it's just, he's talking, and it's Jim Rome like, let's go. He says like one thing. Titans practice today. Not all that way interesting. Let's go to your emails. Jimmy emails in. Romy, been a big fan. You're the best. You're the GOAT. Romy, what do you think about Robert Woods? Let me say this. Robert Woods will be shilling banging at wide receiver this season for the Titans. Romy, you're the GOAT. And so I can't listen to that. I mean, Jim Rome, have some respect for yourself.
Yeah.
You're Jim Rome.
But also, Eli Drinkwitz, you're putting a massive target on your head because Tennessee just hung 100 on you last year.
I'm not sure he's worried about that. He maybe should be.
But also, how much of this is Eli Drinkwitz not knowing his place, and how much of it is Eli Drinkwitz wants to make himself relevant some way, somehow, so he'll just throw pot shots on the Jim Rome show and say, hey, that's good for recruiting.
I mean, I almost think that Eli Drinkwitz probably looked at it. He's Eli Drinkwitz. How many national radio interviews is Eli Drinkwitz doing?
Probably one Jim Rome show.
Like he went on Feinbaum last week at the 4-hour infomercial
that's the
SEC show
network.
where they tell Feinbaum, like, Paul, will you please take Eli Drinkwitz today? Like, please, will you take? All right, fine. I'll take Eli Drinkwitz. That's fine. And then it's like, hey, Jim Rome wants to talk to you. It's like, oh, I'm getting to go on Romy? Oh, yes. But I just thought it was embarrassing. Thought it was embarrassing. Even if it is a crack at Tennessee fans, for me, yeah. And the more I listen to it, the more I'm disappointed in Jim Rome, more than I am Eli Drinkwitz. TD, his takeaways from the first 2 days of practice. What did TD like? What is he concerned about? Plus, what did TD think of Traylon Burke's performance? Terron Davenport's TD Power Hours next, right here. Stillman & Company, 102.5 The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Supper time! Did you know that most commercial dog food has 50 to 64% processed cereal byproducts, even in some premium and organic brands?
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein, and I've saved dogs no one else could with proper nutrition, which led to my development of Nature's Blend, a freeze-dried raw food made with real cuts of meat, omega-3 rich seeds, and superfood veggies and fruit that I created to support your dog's health, happiness, and wellness.
Nature's Blend is made in North America and contains organ meat, some of the most nutritious meat you can give your pet, and it has 0 artificial preservatives, additives, or fillers. For a limited time, save 50% off your first order and receive a free bag of dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/good or text GOOD to 511-511.
I guarantee it with a 100% 90-day return of your purchase price.
Your dog will love the taste of Nature's Blend. Text GOOD to 511-511 today.
Tech fees may apply. You may receive up to 1 additional text. Text stop to opt out.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. 2 days of Titans practice in the books. Mike Vrabel says 3 because Monday was the conditioning test, but we weren't allowed to watch that, which would be interesting television if NFL Network showed all 32 teams' conditioning tests, to be honest with you. But anywho, training camp has started for the Titans. They've been on the field the last 2 days. TD is with us for the TD Power Hour. Terron Davenport. TD, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Just resting after a day of Titans training camp practice.
Okay, so day 1 was very, very interesting. Day 2 was very, very boring. But I know you got takeaways from both days. Let's just start with your initial thoughts from training camp so far.
Well, I think it was a case of a really efficient practice and energetic practice yesterday and a less than energetic one today. And I don't think that's a detriment. It's just one of those things where they kind of scaled it back a little bit to focus on technique and then also make sure that they manage the guys correctly in preparation for what we're going to see tomorrow. So overall, I think there were some things to be excited about. The downfield passing that you saw in the first 2 reps of 7-on-7 with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and Traylon Burks, both catching deep passes on Christian Fulton. I think that was positive. And the offense, seems to be in good shape. But again, it's just 2 days that we've seen, and today wasn't really that much of a exhibition. We'll say that. But overall, you look at the offensive line. It seems like they've gotten a rotation going there. The receivers are working their rotation, so things look like they're falling into place.
What I have noticed the first 2 days, and I kind of asked Vrabel about this, and I think he thought I was asking about something else, but you brought up the word efficient. I brought up the word efficient. We're talking about that. It feels like because the Titans have such a veteran team, TD, that it just feels like this is nothing new for the main players. And on top of that, when they have that, I would assume that it's easier for the younger players to get in line and the younger players to somewhat emulate the core players. This has felt to me through 2 days like a very business-like approach. And I have to believe, TD, that is a positive as far as winning when the season starts. I'm very much a process guy. What have you made of the process of practice, the efficiency, the way they've gotten through drills, the way they've gotten to drills, and how much do you think that matters with a veteran team?
Yeah, I think it matters a lot because as veterans, you want to get out there and you want to get the most out of your time out there. All the extra things that you don't need to be doing and extra time that takes up, it's a waste of just that time. So I think being able to go out there make sure that the drills and technique that they're working on are things that, as Coach Rabel said, is transferring to the games is something that will really help them, and I like the pace that they had with practice yesterday, and it's something that I think we'll continue to see on days where they are going full tilt. That's going to help them, especially a team that has had its issues from time to time with starting slow. This is a good thing to go out there with a bit more of a sense of urgency and efficiency.
Joe Rexrode and I could not argue more about this one individual item, and that's Tannehill. 8 for 8 yesterday, 2 long bombs to start off training camp. Today, they didn't really do much as far as, judging the passing game is concerned. I remember last year, Tannehill threw 5 picks in the first 5 practices, and there was a level of concern there. How much better do you feel about the passing game just from what you've seen so far in practice?
I mean, again, it's 1.5 days, so you can't really form too much of an opinion. I'm not one that keeps stats during practice. I'll make note, okay, he threw a few interceptions, and I'll reserve that. But, as far as like how many completions and yards and all that stuff, I don't really get into that as much as I get into, where he's going with the football, how he's delivering it. But again, it's 1.5 days, so you can't really have an opinion. There were some good deep shots. He showed that he's going to look to push the ball down the field. He said coming into that practice, that's something that they wanted to do. And talking to Tim Kelly and Todd Downing, that's what Tannehill said. And they did it well. So I think that is something to be a bit, excited about, I guess you could call it.
How do you feel about the delivery?
The delivery.
Well, we talked last year of Tannehill. Last year, a lot about the swagger that Tannehill didn't have in the middle of the season. When you watch him throw the ball through the spring and the start of training camp, how do you feel about Tannehill's swagger?
Yeah, I'm not so sure you could get a gauge on a guy's swagger from how he delivers the football, but I think, or throws the football if you're talking mechanics. But I mean, again, he wanted to take shots. He made his mind up that he was going to take shots, and that's what he did. So, that's a good thing. We'll just continue to see how he spreads the football around. I want to see, some more opportunities for Chig Okonkwo, for Austin Hooper, Jeff Swaim. I want to see how much they're going to involve these tight ends, because that's something that they did in minicamp.
Who has stood out to you, TD, through the first 2 days that maybe you had a certain feeling on, but through 2 days, you're looking at that player and feeling either different, from a positive standpoint or even a negative standpoint?
Well, it's easy to say Treylon Burks, but I know we're going to address that a bit later. I want to say Robert Woods, honestly. I was wondering, how he was going to be, and Caleb Farley as well. I saw these guys with the brace on in minicamp in the yellow jersey, so I was wondering how they were brace on the yellow jersey, et cetera, but he didn't have those on. And then watching him just cut and move, you could tell he's not all the way back, but it's pretty clear that, he's on pace to be ready for week 1, which is his goal. So for me, it just seems like he's further ahead than I thought he would be, just because he's not out there with the brace on.
When I listened to Robert Woods today, and I've listened to Robert Woods talk about the Titans since he got here, the word I just keep thinking about with Robert Woods is professional. He plays professionally. He's always shown up. Robert Woods never says the wrong thing. Seems to have great leadership qualities. Today he was talking about going through the rehab process. It sounds like he's become a mentor to Caleb Farley as they went through their knee rehabbing process together. TD, I know the Rams gave him up to get Allen Robinson. I'm not convinced that Allen Robinson's going to be a better fit than Robert Woods was for them, but that's their business. I'm not sure that there could be a player that, from a mentality standpoint and a need standpoint of what he does, could have fit the Titans better than Robert Woods. He feels almost like a Kevin Byard on offense, solid, quality, really good player. I'm not going to say I'm blown away by Woods, because I knew what he was capable of and what he did with the Rams. But how good of a fit does it feel like Robert Woods is right now for the Titans?
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation. The fit with him is absolutely there. And this team desperately needed a business first, a professional to lead that receiver room and just even be a leader on the offense. Because, let's face the facts, up to this point, it's pretty much been Taylor Lewan and Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, those three. So now you get somebody from the receiver room leading them, and just he spoke about, when he can't wait to get on the pads so he could spring the running back for extra yards. Like, that fits right into what Vrabel wants. So from a mentality, a mindset, approach, it's a perfect fit.
TD, one of the bright spots for me at training camp so far is, this is a very subjective term I'm about to use, Dez Fitzpatrick looks like a ball player. Now, that doesn't mean that I think Dez is going to be guaranteed a spot on the roster or that Dez is going to start this year or have a great season. Mike Vrabel gave him one of the offseason Player of the Year awards. What is the difference that you feel from Dez Fitzpatrick on the field last training camp to this training camp, and how big of a deal is that for Dez?
Yeah, good point there. The big difference, honestly, and Mike Vrabel said it, there's route running with a purpose. If it wasn't Coach Vrabel, it was somebody, I believe it was Coach Vrabel that said that. There's a sense of urgency with him that you didn't see last year, and that was actually something that pretty much cost him. And it just seems like there's a confidence level with him as well, having 1 year under his belt, albeit, most of it on the practice squad, but he was making plays as he was running those routes that were on the card. So there's a different confidence and urgency and just approach that you're seeing from him, and you could feel that when you watch him play.
I really like the way that they've stacked the receiver depth. I think that Burks has probably the most star potential, and Woods has the been there, done that on his resume. But last year, AJ and Julio were so in and out of training camp. Yesterday, I felt like there were multiple guys that they were comfortable with, and I noticed that they're getting a lot of different guys out there on the field with Tannehill, which makes me wonder if they want to make sure everybody gets reps with Tannehill, because as they've learned the last 2 years, they never know who Tannehill's going to be throwing the ball to in a Ravens playoff game or the Jets game last year or whatever. But I personally, TD, feel a little bit more comfortable with the number of guys they have there than I did last year.
Well, that's one of the things that Rob Moore said a while ago when I asked him about Ryan Tannehill and how they like how he spreads the football around, is he's going to throw it to you as long as you're open, regardless of what the number is on the jersey. Like, he doesn't throw the numbers. He's not always going to go to number 2, always going to go to number 16. Whoever's open. So that's a really good thing. And it's something that will help this young core. And you mentioned the depth there. You watch Josh Malone getting some really quality work in there. And he's a guy that, along with Racey McMath and Fitzpatrick, there's going to be a nice competition there. Reggie Robertson, a nice competition there for those outside spots. And you look at the slot position, there's a good group there, with Brandon Phillips, Mason Kinsey, and also, and I keep saying Brandon Phillips, Kyle Phillips and Brandon Lewis. I kind of merged those two guys together because they're very similar as far as players are. But the depth there is there. I just want to see just how much the lack of a veteran, polished player other than Robert Woods. I want to see how that's going to come about, right? Like how they're going to do without having that, just having one proven veteran who just happens to be coming off injury.
TD's with us. Okay. TD spent all spring telling me to calm down about Treylon Burks and the panic about the weight and the asthma and the lack of practice. Treylon Burks has a great day of practice. And today, TD was trying to calm me down about getting excited about Treylon Burks. So, TD, what did you see out of Treylon Burks? And how excited should Titans fans be, and how excited do you think they could be after what we all saw yesterday? We'll get to that next with Terron Davenport. It's the TD Power Hour, and all of our training camp coverage is presented right here on 102.5 The Game by USA Hemp Store and Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution.
It's training time for the Two-Tone Blue, and we have you covered.
Talking Titans?
Join us live from training camp for interviews and reports, giving you the latest on the Titans.
There's a lot of guys that are making an impact on me, both good and bad.
I like some of the depth. I think that's the key right now.
Training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution, and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
School is back, and doorbusters are in session at JCPenney. Shop tax-free all weekend. Extended store hours Friday and Saturday. Stock up in-store or buy online now. Pick up curbside later. Shopping is back.
Tennessee's tax-free holiday is here. Head to Electronic Express this weekend for great deals on back-to-school essentials like laptops, tablets, printers, and more, all tax-free. This weekend only, get an Acer laptop for $229 or an Apple iPad for $449. Don't miss out on a Microsoft Surface Pro bundle for $899 or an HP laptop for $499. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared. Have you ever had a room that just won't cool down like the rest of your home? My room upstairs where I've got all the TVs always felt uncomfortable in the summer, but this year I put in a ductless mini splint from Mitsubishi Electric. This ductless style heating and cooling system allows me to set a temperature for just that part of the house, and I didn't have to remodel or install any ductwork to put it in. My friends at Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical are experts at installing these systems. You can book your appointment in minutes online, like I do with my phone, and their techs will make sure that your new system is installed exactly how it was designed. Hiller techs are background and drug screened, and their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services free 100% satisfaction guarantee. If your home isn't keeping your family cool, you need to call Hiller and upgrade to a Mitsubishi Electric Zone Comfort System. This month only, take $1,200 off qualifying Mitsubishi Electric ductless mini splint HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com today to learn more.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
It's made a pretty good difference. You just say really with my asthma and my breathing, just being able to handle it a lot better, and just being out here with the team just makes it even more better for me.
What are some things you did to handle the asthma better from?
Conditioning, running, putting myself in situations where I know that my asthma would flare up, and just being able to push through it and just be dominant.
There you go, Treylon Burks, and dominant. He was as dominant as I believe one could be on a 90-minute practice where he probably took 8 reps. Treylon Burks was fantastic in the first day of Titans practice yesterday. TD is with us for the TD Power Hour. TD, you spent all spring telling me not to panic about Treylon Burks. Not that I'm sure that really did anything, but, it's how I get. And then yesterday, I was wowed by Treylon Burks. What did you think, TD?
Well, first off, I think dominant is a bit of a strong word to put on the performance yesterday. And
that is true.
He definitely had more than 8 reps. But, I mean, he did catch 3 passes. You had the diving catch from which he showed those, 4XL size glove hands that he uses, and he showed them corralling the ball through contact with the ground. And then he had a nice back shoulder catch. Now, that one right there is the one that I really focused on because that tells me that their timing is getting there. Because if you remember that catch, he was barely even into his break. He didn't make the break. He was barely even starting to make the break when Tannehill threw the ball. And he did a really good job of ripping that inside shoulder back and whipping his head around and catching that pass on Caleb Farley. And then you look at the other one where he was able to come open for Logan Woodside, square up, give him a nice big target across the middle as the play extended a little bit, and he just snapped the ball out of the air. Those are all good things. And even beyond that, some of the other things that I look at, just, knowing how receivers think and just how they operate, you see him running back to the huddle, and you see him on blocking plays. There were a few times running plays where he had to block. There were a few times where you would see him hustle up to the safety and then keep running with the safety. These are all things that tell me, hey, this man is back into the shape that he needs to be. And it's something that, as you said, I never really, thought that it was time to cancel Christmas because of whatever things that were happening in OTAs and not happening in minicamp. It's just you can't get too high on it. And that's what I caution you about. Don't get too high on what you see right now. You have to right now just even keel. And then once you start seeing those things stack, then it's like, okay, there's some momentum going. There's something he's building on. And then you see it in games. It's like, okay, this is what they were thinking when they selected him number 18 overall.
TD, Chris Sanders brought up, I thought, a really good point yesterday on the program, which was that it's good for Treylon Burks to have already overcome adversity this early into his NFL career, to have already faced a problem and to have learned the lessons of overcoming it. How valuable is that?
It's really valuable because he was able to do this before he really even got his professional confidence, right? You come into the league, you always feel that you're the truth. You don't get to that level if you don't have that mindset. But to be able to have that questioned, he questioned it himself, but then he just said, well, this is something that has happened before. I'm going to work through it and just take it day by day. And it's also a testament to the encouragement that he's received from the coaching staff. You see how Rob Moore has stepped up for him, the wide receiver coach, and even Mike Vrabel. Treylon Burks said that Coach Vrabel told him to take a day-by-day approach, and it will work itself out. So it's good to do that this early, like I said, before you really even have that professional confidence. It's one thing for a rookie to go through that, but, early as opposed to, a veteran down the line, it's something that he could store for later occasions.
It's funny, you brought up the back shoulder throw, and I completely agree with you because I was standing right there, and Tannehill fired the ball, and it was the timing on it was perfect. But the one that I really was impressed with was not the bomb or that one. It was the one where Logan Woodside overshot him by about 4 or 5 feet, and Treylon Burks jumped up in the air, snatched it, and ran with it because even though it was one play in a training camp practice without pads on, that was kind of a superstar kind of move, like a talented move that most receivers can't make, and it looked so natural for him. And that's reminds me of all the explosive plays that were talked about at Arkansas that, hey, he wasn't the greatest route runner at Arkansas, but with the football in his hands, he was very dangerous. That play made me think that the Titans are going to have a little bit of an AJ element in Burks of he can do things that other guys can't. I loved that catch, TD. What did you think of him going up in the air, grabbing the ball, and turning around and running with it off of what was a high Logan Woodside pass?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was that high. He had to stretch up and get it and jump a little bit. It wasn't like completely off target. Sometimes you got to make plays for your quarterback, and that's what he did. I think even bigger than that was because Roger McCreary was in coverage, and he had the initial route covered, but then Burks was able to, come off it when he was passed, and he passed into the next part of the zone, so to speak, and made the catch. So I think it was just a case of making a play for your quarterback. And that's what you have to do, especially when you're a guy that the team's going to rely upon to do big things for the offense.
I'm going to say this about McCreary because you brought him up. Both days, I've been very impressed with Roger McCreary, including the tip pass that he had yesterday with all the talk about how short his arms were. I mean, he went up and made a great play on a Logan Woodside pass. Today they were doing a drill on the far side of the field, and Vrabel was watching it, and the DB would have to run around the tackling dummy, and then the DB coach, Coach Midget, would point in a direction, and the DB would have to go there and then make a play on the football. And Roger McCreary made a play that the entire DB unit just kind of was going crazy about, with Vrabel standing right there. TD, I think, 2 days, again, it's 2 days, but a couple opportunities with McCreary where I feel like he's really flashed that talent.
Yeah, that play you mentioned was a good one, and just to kind of give the listeners a picture, it was a deep outbreaking route by Cody Hollister, and he was able to kind of jump up and get a hand on it to knock it away. Now, A.J. Moore was closing on that thing. He might have picked it off if it didn't get tipped. But
A.J. Moore was mad about that too.
Yeah, he was mad, but at the same time, McCreary did what he had to do. Break up the pass. That's what you're asked to do, and he did a good job with that. And listen, you're preaching to the choir when you talk about McCreary. He's a guy I felt was a first-round talent, and again, I'll say it. I feel the Titans got 3 first-round picks this year. And Willis, McCreary, and obviously Burks. And regardless of the short arms, this guy could play football, and he's sticky. You watch him in coverage. He's really good with that, and he's proven that, on a lot of platforms, going against guys like Burks, going against, the Alabama receivers, going against Jahan Dotson and putting clamps on him. So it's a guy that I'll continue to be watching. But, like you said, it's not going to get too high right now. There's going to be downs, and you just got to see how he rides through it all.
TD, I want to get your initial impression on all the different position groups on the other side, about what you've seen, who you've liked, what you could perhaps see going forward as Titans camp is underway. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. We are your racing station. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in this Sunday at 12:30 for the Verizon 200. Also join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chasing Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for race weekend. NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, presented by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The back-hander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach. And let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play with the new swimming pool, spa, or patio furniture set.
Hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
Installation in less than 10 days on average.
More than 100 spas in stock and incoming. Artesian, Strong, and LPI spas starting at only $29.99.
What about the patio furniture?
Family Leisure has hundreds of sets in stock and on sale. Hanamint, Woodard, Tropitone, and Loft, all ready for immediate delivery.
Family Leisure also has the Sabre Infrared Grill in stock and on sale at only $11.99, and the Bull Grill Islands at only $39.99.
And Family Leisure has the Diamond Point Play Gym at only $25.99 installed and ready for immediate delivery.
Pool tables, massage chairs, and theater seating all on sale and ready for immediate delivery.
Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Did you book the Townsend's 10th anniversary tickets?
Alona's travel agency is overbooked and experiencing delays. She needs to land a new project manager to clear her business's runways.
Yes, Mrs. O'Hara, we checked. Pygmy goats do not count as emotional support animals.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by interviewing on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series against the Charlotte Knights at First Horizon Park. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caleb Farley and Kevin also said he was impressed with what he's seen with him. Just what have you seen out of him in the last couple of months, the work he's put in, not only with the rehab, but the playbook as well?
Yeah, and I think he can, again, this is a certain set of circumstances of coming in, not having had a whole lot of conditioning or strength training or football for that matter. And the offseason was an opportunity for him to do that, really train hard, lift, add strength and size that's critical in this league, but also an understanding of what his job is and what the offense is doing and formations that they're in or splits that they're in and recognizing all those things. And then now trying to add that to practice to where you're able to recognize those things on the field and not on the film. The film's a little slower than the field.
There you go. That was Vrabel on Caleb Farley. And right now the corners, at least, especially Farley, because his health is such a big concern. Right now, the corners, in my opinion, looking pretty good. But I was a little disheartened when Mike Vrabel got up there and said Buster Skrine was retiring on Monday, because I liked Buster Skrine last year. I thought Buster Skrine did a good job. Buster Skrine's been in the league a long time. He's a solid veteran, can play inside, outside. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. Let's go position by position group, TD. Let's start with corner. We've seen Farley out there and running well, but Buster Skrine did retire. What do you think of the DBs so far?
I think the DBs are fine. And, you hate to see a guy not be there, but, Buster Skrine felt that it was time to move on, and he retired, and more power to him. I like the fact that that's going to give more reps to Roger McCreary, who I think was going to, be heavily involved anyway. DB group, in my opinion, the corners, really good. Versatility is a key thing with them. So I think that's something that they're excited about, and talking to Coach Midget, the DB coach, the ability for guys to have 5 guys that can play inside and outside. And I think Molden can do that in the pinch if asked to, but he's really good as a nickel.
So I feel comfortable right now thinking that Christian Fulton's going to start this year, obviously. Started last year. Farley is probably going to take Jackrabbit Jenkins' spot if I had to guess. Molden's probably the slot. Chris Jackson, who has been a big contributor for the team for the last couple of years, is in that mix. And, of course, McCreary is going to try to find his way on the field one way or another. Safety, they've got Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard return. Add in the draft pick of Theo Jackson. John Robinson talked about the numbers earlier this week about adding to that DB group at corner. Do you think they go and maybe look for another veteran who's versatile that can play like Skrine? Or do you think, maybe we should get ready for another round of Breon Borders around here when they go about addressing that?
I mean, it's very possible that they bring in another DB, but remember, they like Greg Maben a lot too. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look overall, especially last year, it showed that you could never have enough DBs. So trust me, they have their short list formed, and there's a good chance they bring a guy in. But they had also mentioned it's not as much about numbers on each individual group as it is about numbers just over the overall roster. So that could mean that they may go one extra guy at another position.
Defensive line, we know all of the big names. We know Simmons and Autry. And last year, the Titans got a lot of great contributions from guys like Naquan Jones and Tier Tart. DeMarcus Walker, who is in his 6th year out of Florida State, was one of the preseason player or offseason player of the years. Deshaun Hand out of Alabama today had a great rep going at it with Nate Davis. Both he and Nate Davis had a great rep. Laurel Murchison is he's been a draft pick who's been in and out of the rotation. How do you feel about defensive line, TD?
Yeah, that back end of the rotation is going to be really interesting. I think you have to look at Murchison and those guys. Naquan Jones, I feel, has a pretty good hold on a roster spot, but there's also a undrafted free agent, in Haskell Garrett, who has a good shot at making the team. And I like the depth there. It's going to be interesting watching that play out.
What do you make of the linebackers? We'll start kind of outside. We were talking earlier today about whether or not linebacker depth, a texter asked, is an issue with the Titans right now. Middle linebacker, we'll get to in a second. Outside linebacker, Dupree returns. He looks fine. Landry returns. He looks great. Rashard Weaver is back into the mix. Ola Adeni re-signed. What do you make of the outside linebackers?
Yeah, I mean, and you didn't mention Danico Autry, who has worked mostly at outside linebacker, when they're doing individual period. He's working with the outside backers. We've seen that, last year as well. So he's another one. So it adds to the depth. They have a lot of versatility, and that they, Weaver, Dupree, even Landry. I mean, pretty much any of their guys. Ola could do it too, because you see him down in the 4-point stance sometimes coming off the edge. All those guys could get down, hand in the dirt, and do what they have to do that way, in addition to standing up.
Do you think they need more depth at middle linebacker? Because David Long and Zach Cunningham are going to start.
No.
Monty Rice is on PUP. What do you think of middle linebacker?
I don't think they need more depth. And I think when you look at Chance Campbell, I really like this guy. I mean, he had, I think, 720 tackles last year. And he's someone, I say that jokingly. I mean, it was more like about 100, I think 143 he had. So he clearly, and that's in the SEC, at Ole Miss, he clearly is a guy that knows how to find the football. And I think he sticks. And they like Dylan Cole as well. So I think those guys could kind of bring up the rear. And you have Joe Jones, a guy that they've had on the roster that could play that position also.
So they flipping to the other side of the ball on offense. I feel like at wide receiver and running back, there's too many guys I could see making the roster for roster spots that they don't have. Derrick Henry has probably done a little bit more than we're used to seeing Derrick Henry do at camp, but Derrick Henry's not going to really do anything at training camp. How do you see the running back position right now, knowing that they invested a nice draft pick in Hassan Haskins, knowing that special teams is going to be a big deal for this team as well? How do you see the running backs, TD?
Yeah, that's a tough position because you have the fullback. Torrey Carter is a guy, another one of the award winners. He's someone from the offensive side. He's someone that's going to be in the mix. So it's X amount of running backs plus the fullback. I think they keep 4. Trenton Cannon is going to be in the mix just because his special teams ability. But then you also have Dontrell Hilliard, who's obviously going to be, one of the third down guys. And you mentioned Haskins and, of course, Henry. So there's going to be a lot of competition. You hate to see a guy like Jordan Wilkins not make it, but I think he might fall victim to a numbers game. And it's unfortunate because he's a tough back.
TD, help me out at wide receiver. I know, and you know, that Treylon Burks, Robert Woods, and Nick Westbrook-Akina are going to make the football team. After that, it gets a little murky because Dez Fitzpatrick had a great offseason. Mike Vrabel gave him an offseason Player of the Year award, and I believe that there's a different vibe with Dez Fitzpatrick. Josh Malone's trying to make the roster. Cody Hollister is around once again, and I think is going to be getting some high-level reps in the preseason and in training camp. Then there's the slot guys, Kinsey and Phillips. And there's the other guys, the undrafted guys. There's Racey McMath, who's a special teamer. I mean, there's just not enough spots for all these guys that have even so far through 2 days, done some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it seems like they're pushing a lot of positivity with Fitzpatrick, which is the exact opposite of last year. So that's something to take note of. And I feel this way. Racey McMath, Des Fitzpatrick, Josh Malone, Reggie Robertson, those four, in my opinion, are fighting for 2 spots. And then you got Mason Kinsey, Kyle Phillips, Brandon Lewis. I think those guys, and you could put Godwin in there too. He's in the mix one way or another. But those 3 guys specifically, they're fighting for another spot, and that's that nickel/punt returner spot. So it's a competition there for 3 to 4 spots, and it's going to be interesting watching how that develops. I want to see, Cody Hollister. Can he step up? Who's going to make plays? Who is going to make plays at the receiver position during preseason games? That's going to be critical. But then also you have the joint practices too. So that's a positive where there's going to be a lot of opportunities to sort through what they have to figure out at the position.
The most questions we get asked so far, TD, is about tight end. You've liked Chigakonkwo the whole time. Austin Hooper has been – it feels like Austin Hooper never leaves Tannehill's side during practice. And Jeff Swaim returns. So, Caroline, how many messages did we get about tight end yesterday?
At least 10.
Okay, TD, to the tight end people, please, your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's those 3. There's a chance, Briley Moore possibly. But I think it's those 3 guys. And I think they're going to use a lot of the tight ends a lot too. So they'll have some guys on the practice squad that they can shuffle up and down. But I think it really comes down to those 3. And I'll say this, Chigakonkwo, he's going to challenge for the team lead in touchdown receptions. Mark my words on that. And the reason why I look at the similarities to Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith in 2020 had 8 touchdowns in the red zone. 8. We know that Ryan Tannehill targets the tight ends. 8 touchdowns in 2020. Last year, collectively, they had 8 touchdowns. There might have been 9. But 25 of Ryan Tannehill's 76 touchdown passes since he became the starter in week 6 of the 2019 season have gone to the tight ends. Chigakonkwo, in my opinion, is going to be a red zone weapon for them.
Let's get to offensive line. We know Lawan, Davis, and Ben Jones will all start, and right now they look solid, and move on past them. Left guard, right tackle, Radens, Petit Ferrer, Jamarco Jones, Aaron Brewer. What do you make?
Yeah, well, we'll really be able to make something out of that tomorrow and some of the following days when we see them in pads. And, yeah, it's cool to see them with the Guardian cap on and no pads, just kind of going at it, but they're not truly going at it. You can't really get much for now. But I do like what Mike Vrabel said about Aaron Brewer as far as him not being the biggest guy, but understanding leverage and toughness. He called him tougher than a $2 steak, which is pretty bad because, a $2 steak has got to be pretty tough to cut. So I like that reference there. But he also said that with his athleticism, he's able to move in ways that bigger guys can't. So I'm really going to be watching just how he is against some of these bigger D tackles, especially going against the Bucs. When you see Vita Vea here, how is he going to deal with that mammoth of a man? That's going to be a good gauge to see where Brewer is. Jamarco Jones as well.
I would say, what do you think about the quarterbacks? But Tannehill, Woodside, we kind of know. Your early impressions, and I haven't seen a lot of reps, really. Your early thoughts on Malik Willis?
Yeah, he's working on the far side. So if you're focusing on the first and second groups, you're not going to see much of them. It's still a work in progress. Again, it's the operation that they're working on. I did see him yesterday play action. He almost put a hole in Racey McMath's chest on a slant, but McMath was able to catch it nicely and get up the field. It was a really good throw on Willis's part. And the reason why I mentioned that play action, because that was a part of the operation that they're trying to get him used to, right? Turning your back to the defense and then flipping your hips back around after the play fake and being able to locate the open man and see where the defense, how assess the defense and locate the open man and deliver the football. And he did it on that play. So there's some positive with him, but it's still a work in progress. I'm looking forward to watching him in the games where, what he's doing now, how is that going to transfer over? And will he abandon the technique that he's honing, or will he stick to it and result in good, positive things?
TD's with us. Your questions for TD next. Your questions from training camp. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. Stillman & Company, 1025 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 1025 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible this afternoon. High 91, heat index 101. We will be cooler the rest of the week.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
School is back, and doorbusters are in session at JCPenney. Shop tax-free all weekend. Extended store hours Friday and Saturday. Stock up in-store or buy online now. Pick up curbside later. Shopping is back.
Attention investors.
You know, in business, timing is everything, and today your timing is perfect. Credix Corporation is operating in many of the fastest growing and most profitable industries: real estate, retail, e-commerce, the CBD market, and family golf entertainment, with more to come.
We're helping investors on Main Street, not just Wall Street.
Credix recently entered into an agreement to purchase USA Hemp Store. One of the affiliates of the USA Hemp Store is NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Namath.
Credix is offering an investment opportunity into shares of common stock at $1.20 per share. Invest for a $20,000 minimum investment, although we have the option of accepting subscriptions in a lesser amount.
Become an investor in one of the most exciting public companies today.
Space is limited. Call now for your free investor information kit. 800-881-1528, 800-881-1528, or visit credixcorporation.com, CREDEX Corporation.com. An investment in Credix Corporation, the company, the information herein is not meant to replace or supplement the term sheet. For complete information and full disclaimers, visit credixcorporation.com/invest.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
For the first time, saddle up in Smashville. 6:30 this Saturday at Nissan Stadium for WWE SummerSlam. See undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns face Brock Lesnar in a last man standing match. Liv Morgan defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Pat McAfee vows to shut down Happy Corbin, and more. Free seats are still available, and tickets start at $25 at Ticketmaster.
Informative.
They played a lot of power play time together back in the day.
Insightful.
It's a great addition to this team.
And just three guys being dudes.
On the sideline in shorts and a t-shirt, hanging out, watching the game.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
No such thing as bad press.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Over to Company TD Power Hour. Terron Davenport is with us. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. Caroline, take it away.
Austin in Clarksville texts in and says, how does TD feel about Reggie Roberson and how he is done?
Yeah, I like Roberson as a player. I really felt that he was a guy that was going to be drafted. They got value there. I just want to see him start to make plays. Like, he can't fall into a rut, and there's only 2 days in, but he can't fall into a rut where he's not flashing, because at that stage where he is, he has to stay on the evaluator's mind, stay on Rob Moore's mind. And one way he could do that is by showing that speed that he has and making plays in practice. So he'll need to start doing that.
I think the question, and you brought this up when you said, I think it was 4 guys for 2 spots and then 3 guys for 1 spot. And I would agree with your assessment of that is, are the Titans ready to pencil or pin Dez Fitzpatrick into the roster? Because Dez doesn't play special teams. So if they do that, then the other 2 receivers that they take, one has to return punts. The other one has to be able to play on special teams, which, in my opinion, would probably give the edge to McMath. That's going to be hard to crack the lineup at that point if Reggie Roberson doesn't offer something of innate value on special teams as well.
And he does, though. He's one of the guys that Craig Aukerman raved about when he was talking about return ability, kick return specifically. But he's a guy that I did, if I'm not mistaken, he was back there fielding punts during OTAs or minicamp. He wasn't doing it over the last couple of days because Treylon Burks is a guy that they had back there, along with Terry Godwin, Mason Kinsey, and Kyle Phillips.
Do you think there's any chance Treylon Burks is going to be a punt returner for the Titans this year?
He's going to do it in preseason games, according to Mike Vrabel. So there's definitely a chance. And, I mean, I'm not mad at that. You always try to find ways to get those hidden yards. And I think special teams is an area where, different teams are able to take advantage, right? And it's not something that shows up as much in the stat sheet, but field positioning is definitely significant, especially for a team like the Titans who have like that balanced ball control and just that formula. It's a big thing, field position.
What's next?
Another texter texts in and says, assuming Treylon Burks has won the day offensively, who won the day defensively?
That's a good question. No, I like McCreary, man. If you're talking about one a day yesterday, today, again, it wasn't really much, but I like McCreary because it wasn't just a breakup that he had. It was just, how sticky he was in coverage. I mean, there were multiple times where, he made quarterbacks go somewhere else because he was covering so well. So I'm going to go with him.
McCreary would be one for me. Joe Jones had a nice punch out. Did you see the Julius Chestnut fumble?
I was just ready to say, Julian, like every time he carries the football, I always think Natron Means, and he made a nice little move, but Joe Jones did punch it out. He made whoever it was, I forget who it was, he made them miss. And, to see a 25 or 30-pound guy have that footwork, it's unfortunate. It all just kind of got thrown out the window when he got the ball punched out.
I think everybody had the same reaction you. I was watching it and I thought, nice run, about to give Julius Chestnut a plus on the day. And then all of a sudden I see the ball on the ground and I see Chestnut on the ground with his helmet in the ground like, how? I just had a great run and I went and fumbled the ball. And I was like, minus for fumbling. But Joe Jones sharked that ball out of there. So he would be the other guy that I would say defensively, kind of flash. But McCreary, absolutely.
Derek texts in and says, I know this rarely happens, but would the Titans consider bringing back Jackrabbit Jenkins on a very team-friendly deal? If he continues to go unsigned, it could present a good opportunity for the Titans.
$6 million bucks, Julio Jones.
Apparently that's a low price these days.
Go ahead and get $6 million for him too.
It's always possible, but I don't see why they would do that. They don't have to do that right now because, again, now it's funny that this is mentioned or it's ironic, I'll say it that way, because I remember when I said the Titans should look at Roger McCreary with one of their high draft picks, people thought I was talking crazy. Of course, they ended up picking him with one of the high draft picks, but it's a different conversation. I say all that to say I feel as though they have the depth and they have young depth. So I don't think they need to go out and bring a guy like Jack Rabbit in.
I think the perfect guy that they have, and I know this is going to sound nuts, I think Chris Jackson's the perfect veteran guy to have because he's versatile. He's played enough in the NFL to kind of, have that experience for some of the younger guys. And on top of it, the leader of that DB room is Kevin Byard. And so as far as, the leadership element is concerned, I think Byard can handle that for the younger DBs. I'm with you. Why we know Jack Rabbit, there's a proof of concept. We know what he can do, and we know what he can't do. With a guy like McCreary, we get excited at what he might be able to do, but I think the Titans need to put those guys out on the football field. TD, I have to jump in and ask you a question because it's been on my mind all day. And I actually can't believe I didn't ask you this at practice today either. I talked to Gentry Estes and Kayla Anderson about this. I talked to people at the Titans about this. Ian Rappaport reported $6 million for Julio Jones with the incentives to get up to 8. And I am completely torn because part of me says if the $6 million was guaranteed, then Ian Rappaport is respecting Julio, but I wouldn't guarantee Julio $6 million. Do you think that $6 million is guaranteed to Julio, or do you think Julio has to stay healthy in training camp and earn the $6 million?
I mean, I highly doubt it's guaranteed, but that's a tough question. I do believe that they're going to require him to stay in training camp, and it's interesting because August 18th and 19th, I think it is, they come here. So we'll see if Julio Jones is available for them, and if he is, that'll be a good opportunity to see the Titans DBs go against him. But I don't know about the guaranteed deal. They seem to be in pretty good shape receiver-wise and have a lot of money already invested in that position, so I highly doubt it.
I mean, if Jenna Lane, for instance, who covers the Bucs for ESPN, if she called you and said, TD, what do you think about this Buccaneers signing of Julio Jones, what would you say?
I would say there's not really much, in my opinion, of a resemblance of the guy that's a future Hall of Famer, but you will see some things in spurts. But it really comes down to how is he going to be able to handle and avoid soft tissue injuries. That's what continues to be his Achilles heel.
TD, good stuff. As always, Talking with TD is out as usual. And, of course, you'll be on with the morning show tomorrow. And I'll be seeing you on the practice field tomorrow, TD.
That's right. See you tomorrow, Jarrett and Caroline. Looking forward to it.
There you go. Terron Davenport, as always, joining us for the TD Power Hour. And I'm sorry for some of your phones if we didn't get to them on because I had to get what TD thought about the Julio thing. I mean, I am dumbfounded at that $6 million if it's guaranteed. But then, is Julio really going to go if it's not guaranteed?
And that's why I have a weird catch-22 in my mind of the Bucs are crazy if they're guaranteeing $6 million. But would Julio agree to even sign with the Bucs if it was anything less than $6 million? Probably not.
So Joe Rexrode has this really odd opinion that I don't completely understand, and we've argued about plenty. But I think the reality of where Ryan Tannehill is right now has to be discussed. How much it matters is fair to discuss, but it has to be discussed. And we'll do that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
We're Saia LTL Freight. For nearly a century, our team has been committed to driving business forward. From Lady Liberty to the Golden Gate, Superstore to Corner Store. We go that extra mile, expanding our team to better serve you. So trust that when you partner with Saia, we take every delivery personally. Visit Saia.com for all your shipping needs. That's SAIA.com.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not,
Prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. You're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3. Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Day 2 of Titans training camp is in the books. And to be completely frank with you, they didn't really do anything.
Yeah, it was not very exciting today.
Now, it wasn't the worst practice. Today I was standing there, and I was just standing there amongst people. And I forget who I was talking to about how it was a boring practice, but I said this has nothing on the 2018 Mike Vrabel punting practice at Nissan Stadium.
Oh, boy.
And I mean, like 3 people all turned around. Oh, God, that practice was the worst. Literally an open practice for fans to come out to Nissan Stadium and Vrabel punted for 3 hours. Unbelievable. It was so embarrassing. I was so mad at Vrabel. And that's when people ask questions like, so what have you learned about, now that this is your 5th year and things like that? And the coach always kind of deflects on it or whatever. Vrabel has learned in front of the fans, don't practice punting.
Don't punt.
Don't punt. No punting practice. Today was infinitely more interesting than that horrific day. But they really didn't do much. But this morning I was on Robbie and Rex Road, and Joe got all worked up about Ryan Tannehill. And he got worked up about the story of camp. And I think it is worth discussing that in the first day of competitive camp that we've seen, because we don't know who threw those 2 Caleb Farley interceptions in the secret practice, so we just have to ignore it. In the day we saw, Ryan Tannehill was 8 for 8 and threw 2 huge passes down the field, one to Nick Westbrook-Akina, which would have been a touchdown, and one to Traylon Burks. That's great. That's great. And I think it's a great sign that Tannehill, who had such a craptastic year last year, had such a bad regular season, had a terrible training camp, and the by far worst playoff game I think I've ever seen from a legitimate quarterback. I mean, I think that's a good sign. Do I think it's everything? No. Do I think it's the end of the world? Do I think the Titans are headed to the Super Bowl? No. But, again, what we have to go off of is 8 for 8 for Tannehill, looking decisive when throwing the football, all of the things that he didn't have last year. It looks like he's got a little bit of. He throws to the tight end some. Robert Woods looks healthy. Traylon Burks looks like he's going to be pretty good. Dez Fitzpatrick looks like he belongs in the NFL. Those are all good things. Again, how important are they? I don't know. But for somebody to, and this is Joe, but for Joe to, downplay the importance of training camp, what else do we have to go off of? I mean, yeah, would I like to see them bring in a team tomorrow and have a controlled scrimmage that's like a real game against, just pick some random team that they never play. The Lions, let's bring the Lions in tomorrow, put the ball down, on the 20-yard line, and, let's see it. Yes, I would prefer that, but we don't have that. All we have is what we have to go off of. The reality, though, about whether or not the story of camp is Ryan Tannehill, it's always going to be about Ryan Tannehill. He is the story of the season. If I were to go on Mad Dog Radio and say, are the Tennessee Titans Super Bowl contenders? Every single caller, and I'd get a lot, every single caller would want to discuss one thing. Let's think about
also Traylon Burks and other elements.
I mean, think about the teams that have good quarterbacks. Green Bay has no receivers. And other than Aaron making Alan Lazard the story yesterday, nobody ever talks about them. Nobody ever talks about, Green Bay has no receivers.
No, they do not.
They have no receivers.
No.
Doesn't matter. The reason receivers matter around here is because Tannehill needs receivers in order to be successful, in order to play. I mean, Kansas City, everybody loves Kansas City. Kansas City lost maybe the best receiver in the NFL. Miami got maybe the best receiver in the NFL, and nobody's picking Miami. And that's where I go back to with this team. Because people will say, well, the quarterback is the story at every training camp. And I don't think that's true. If the quarterback is established and everybody knows what that quarterback is, I don't think the quarterback is the story. I don't think the quarterback is the story in Tampa Bay. We know who the quarterback is. We know what he's, how good he is. We know that he's going to be good this year. That I don't think is kind of the story. Denver, the quarterback is the story. Like that is, if Russell Wilson, like last year, Tannehill threw 5 picks in the first 5 days of training camp. If Russell Wilson throws 5 picks in the first 5 days of training camp at Broncos camp, it's the number one story in America. Right now in Arizona, the story is the quarterback doesn't work hard. But that's the story. It's the quarterback. It's not that way everywhere, but it is here. And to act like Ryan Tannehill's performance at training camp isn't the most important thing, I think it's completely out of touch.
Well, to Joe's point, because I understand his explanation of, well, the quarterback can't be the biggest story because training camp is where we get to see guys that we don't normally see. We always see the quarterback. I understand that. Then why, using Joe's logic, is Caleb Farley the biggest story of training camp? Why wouldn't it be the rookies?
Sure.
Why wouldn't it be Traylon Burks or Robert Woods or why Austin Hooper or Chigakonkwo or Dylan Radins? Is he filling into this offensive line? Because we really haven't seen a lot of Dylan Radins.
That is a big story, by the way.
That is
the
a
offensive
big story.
line. But the thing that's crazy about all of this.
But Caleb Farley, using Joe's logic, Caleb Farley doesn't make sense to be the biggest story. And I don't think he is the biggest story in any lens that you look at training camp through.
Here's what's crazy about that. Is that Burks, the offensive line, Hooper, Woods, I think they're all big stories. And you know why I think they're all big stories?
Because of Tannehill.
Because of Tannehill. Just like how Christian Watkins is not a big story in Green Bay, but he might be the next great receiver, and Aaron's going to need a next great receiver if Green Bay is going to get over the hump, or Sky Moore at Kansas City, if they're going to get over the hump. Somebody's going to have to be Tyreek Hill if Tyreek Hill's not there. But that's not a big deal because everybody knows that, hey, Mahomes will be fine. Aaron will be fine. It'll be okay. We all know that when the Green Bay Packers get to the games, we know Aaron's going to be the quarterback and we know Aaron's going to be good. Now, how good is Aaron going to be? That's a story for the season. That's a story for the playoffs. We don't know. Right now, we don't know if Tannehill is a good quarterback or a bad quarterback. We don't know because we've seen them both. And so training camp is what we have to go off of. And what I've seen in training camp right now is through one day, Tannehill has looked like the good Tannehill and not the bad Tannehill.
And also to the point, I heard you and Joe talking this morning, to your point about, well, Tannehill was throwing picks last year in camp, so that kind of foreshadowed the season. I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but I'm not subscribing completely to that belief because I'm not saying that Treylon Burks is going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year because of what he did yesterday. I think what you see in training camp can either make you apprehensive about some things or excited about some things. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because Ryan Tannehill threw picks in training camp last year that he's going to throw 3 interceptions in a playoff game.
So here's why I think Ryan Tannehill threw interceptions last year. Or I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why he threw them. Here's why I think Ryan Tannehill threw interceptions in training camp last year. And they were brushed off as it's training camp or whatever excuse you wanted to use. It was used last year during training camp. When I went to Tampa Bay, one day I watched the Titans on offense. The next day I watched Tampa Bay on offense so I could watch Titans defense. And I watched the Titans on offense. And A.J. Brown was hurt. Julio Jones was hurt. Derrick Henry wasn't practicing. And so Ryan Tannehill's going up against the Super Bowl defense. And he's got Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chester Rogers, Marcus Johnson, and Anthony Ferkshire. I go to the other side the next day. Tom Brady has Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. And the difference in those two was, just clearly it was astronomical. Well, right now, at least in the one day that Tannehill started off 8 for 8, Tannehill had Treylon Burks, he had Robert Woods, he had Austin Hooper, he had Chig Okonkwo, he had Nick Westbrook-Akina, he had all the guys that everybody thinks Tannehill's going to go to war with this year. That was a legitimate problem last season was who's Tannehill throwing the ball to? Was that the problem last year? I don't know. But it was a problem in camp last year, and so far through one day, 8 for 8. Now, this practice was a little different, the way that they did it, but Ryan Tannehill through 5 days last year, 5 picks. Ryan Tannehill through 2 days this year, not one incompletion.
Also, today is kind of not really fair to assess.
Even when Vrabel said, he said there's no winners or losers in the jog through, that was, he's telling the truth.
He threw no incompletions because Ryan Tannehill hardly even threw the ball today.
It was like, to put this, I guess, in the mind of the listener, this would be like if we were to go out to a T-ball field and I were to say, okay, runners at second and third, and throw a ground ball out to the third baseman and go, all right, there's one out, runners at second and third. Throw the ball out. Now, where are you going to go with the ball? It's not like I'm hitting you a ground ball and there's a runner going and you're throwing the ball. It was literally just let's get lined up. Let's make sure we get lined up correctly. Let's make sure we, find our landmarks and our gaps and everything else. And that was today. Yesterday was for real. 8 for 8 for Tannehill. That's a big deal. Tannehill is the story. He's the story in town, and it's not even close. And all the other things are subset stories of Tannehill. Robert Woods is a subset story of Tannehill.
But is that the truth for every training camp?
No. For instance, if you were to go across the league, and I don't cover all these teams, so I'm not exactly sure, Josh Allen is not the story of Bills camp. Josh Allen doesn't have to throw one pass at Bills camp, and that's fine. Because they know what they have at quarterback.
But let's say the story is a wide receiver. Well, okay. That would then give your quarterback more weapons.
I don't know what the story of Bills camp is.
I don't either.
But it's not, to me, like they know what they have in Josh Allen.
Which is fair.
Like this training camp for Tannehill reminds me, because he wasn't the story last year until it became the story, but the injuries were the story, and Julio's out again, and AJ's knees, and that was the story. This year, to me, Tannehill is the story. And the defense getting good as bad as they were, and Jim Schwartz being in, that was the story last year.
And to that point, too, Derrick Henry is not the story of training camp.
I asked Derrick Henry today. I was like, what's a good practice or a bad practice for you? You didn't do anything. And it's like, well, I don't want to have bad practices. I was like, well,
That's probably
what
fair.
is a bad practice? Because you don't do it. Derrick Henry is, with all these players that usually don't have most players don't just show up for work. Like, you got batting practice, and then you got stretching, and then you warm up, and then you run out there a couple of times, and then the national anthem, and then we play baseball. Derrick Henry, as far as football is concerned, the first time that Derrick Henry does anything that actually matters for Derrick Henry will be against the Giants in Week 1. And that's only, like, Derrick should play in the preseason to get some hits and get into the, except for the consequences if something bad happened, would get everybody fired, and nobody wants to get fired. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Joe Rexrode today put a burden of proof on me about Ryan Tannehill and his performance last year at training camp. And through 2 days, Ryan Tannehill's performance at training camp is the opposite of last year. Joe said that nobody was talking about Tannehill's interceptions. Well, we will do a dive as if Joe is telling the truth. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5 The Game.
And here we go! Every Tuesday at 11, the Music City Grand Prix is green! Chase, Willie, and D-Mace will get you set for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix by talking to some of IndyCar's best drivers.
Pleased to be joined by Scott Dixon.
I can't wait, man, and thanks for having me on, and looking forward to getting back to Nashville.
Weekly driver interviews are presented by Social Furniture in West Nashville. Shop their summer blowout sale now till July 31st. 60 months with no interest and same-day delivery. And by the Nashville Sheriff on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
School is back, and doorbusters are in session at JCPenney. Shop tax-free all weekend. Extended store hours Friday and Saturday. Stock up in-store or buy online now. Pick up curbside later. Shopping is back.
At the Law Office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, you know the traditional treatments: pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Donick here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Hey, I'm Matt Saggio. I moved to Nashville in 2008 and seen this city grow each and every day. The entertainment industry is thriving, and it's exciting to work in. It's a lifestyle. I've been with Cromwell Media for almost 10 years now, and I'm proud to provide creative marketing ideas and develop solutions to help businesses grow and achieve their goals. Do you love helping people? Let's talk about you joining our team. Shoot us an email at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Yes, Tannehill threw a few picks in camp. You've now revised the history, and he was bad. Like it was a big story last year. I want you to go back. I want you to spend some time today, and I want you to go back and find all the instances of coverage, whatever it was, you, us, anything written about the bad.
Why do I have to do that?
Because you are the one with a stupid opinion. So you have to back it up.
There you go. That was Robbie and Retro this morning. And as I was on the phone with them while Joe was talking, I put in Ryan Tannehill training camp interceptions, and a story at Fansided came up about why, this was from last year, why people should not be worried about Ryan Tannehill's interceptions. And then Joe said that didn't count.
Why doesn't that count?
That's what Joe said.
Well, I did hear Robbie saying, well, you got to do better than Fansided.
Do I?
Yeah.
Joe said find any instance of coverage of people. Took me 12 seconds. I found one. Fine. So here's what I've decided. So
No disrespect to Fansided.
Joe Retro puts the burden of proof on me for whatever reason. He's challenging the claim that most people believe that last year Ryan Tannehill was bad in training camp. I mean, from your recollection of training camp last year, was Tannehill bad?
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of a story.
It was the
how
story
shocking
of
it was.
why all the incompletions.
So, this was all from last year at training camp. This is my rebuttal to Joe Retro's revisionist history about Ryan Tannehill, or his loose claim that I was lying about last offseason. This was training camp 2021 and Ryan Tannehill.
Not asking for a percentage, but just your feel for how much of that is good play versus bad decision. And I know a couple of practices ago you were unhappy with the practice because you felt like you were giving away a lot of opportunities out there.
Well, certainly with the quarterback center exchange. I think the interceptions, you know, there were times today that I felt like we made a really nice play, and then I felt like, you know, maybe on the pressure, you know, I mean, like we got to throw that ball away. We're just, you know, I mean, it's like they blitzed us, and you know that ball's probably just got to be, you know, dirted or thrown away, and I think that's probably, you know, when you throw out there late, it's a recipe for disaster.
Vrabel sounded happy there.
Day off yesterday. How do you think things went today in terms of being crisp and all that?
Yeah, it wasn't where I wanted to be. You know, we had an opportunity there to go finish off a 2-minute drive and win the game with a field goal. We weren't able to do that. Weren't as crisp on third down. Had some opportunities and didn't execute on third down. We just got to be better. You know, I think we did a couple good things today, but overall, just didn't have the urgency and the preciseness on the details like I like to see. So definitely a lot room to improve, and look forward to coming back tomorrow and working on those things.
You get more chances, you know, in this time of year than even when you get closer like a game.
Oh, no doubt. You know, training camp's the time to push the envelope. You know, figure out what your guys are capable of, what you're capable of. Throwing in some tight windows and some trust throws to guys, and okay, let's figure out who can make those types of plays for us as we get into the regular season. And you know, as the closer we get, you know, the more realistic you have to be about, you know, what throws you can make and what throws you can't.
Interceptions notable again today. At what point do they cross the line of teachable moments, getting used to new guys around you, and become cause for concern in the preseason?
Yeah, they've come in different situations, you know, and some of them are flat out unacceptable. You know, we got to take care of the ball down in the red zone. When we're down there, we can't try to force it into tight windows when the throw isn't there. And then some of them we're working 2-minute drills at the end of the game, and you know, we're down on the clock and we got to give somebody an opportunity to go make a play. But they're on a case-by-case basis, and I think that as long as the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, and the quarterbacks are all in lockstep on what's acceptable and what's not in terms of putting the ball in harm's way, we'll be okay by the end of it. You know, Ryan's a guy that certainly is history of taking care of the football, and Logan and Matt are the same way. So I'm not concerned about it as long as it doesn't become a repeated issue.
You guys have maybe 7 or 8 interceptions so far in camp. What does that tell you, and maybe who are the guys that are making them? Whether it's Breon, Amani?
Yeah, I mean, Hook showed up in a few different coverages, making some plays. I mean, he's been savvy back there. He's always been a smart football player. I think he's kind of starting to learn the ins and outs of playing the game a little bit more so than just his job, so to speak. Breon's been good up to this point. Again, just consistency, day in and day out, play in and play out for him. But I think he showed a lot of improvement coming into camp versus where he was at in the spring even. I think he busted his butt in those 5 or 6 weeks away, and he's come back ready to go. But those guys are finding ways to stay tight and man, and then in all the other stuff that we do, they're finding ways of getting the right spot and break on throws.
So the defensive coordinator was, yeah, man, we're playing great. The offensive coordinator, yeah, some of those turnovers are unacceptable. The quarterback, yeah, I'm just trying to push the envelope here, see what I can do. The head coach, yeah, some of those, the center exchange, the other stuff are, we got to dirt the ball. We can't do that. We can't do. That was 3 minutes of training camp last year of people talking about interceptions. That was 3 whole minutes, and it wasn't 3 minutes on one day.
Well, did anyone deny the fact that the interceptions happened?
Well, I mean,
I think the point that Joe disagrees with is, yeah, they happened, but that doesn't necessarily dictate or signify that he was going to be so interception prone in the regular season.
And that's because that's what Joe thought at the time. You heard the question Joe asked Tannehill in the middle of that, which was, it was the definition of a leading question. Joe goes, so are you just taking more chances? Which is like, and then of course Tannehill's answer was, yeah, I'm taking more chances. That's what it is. Joe had it made up in his mind at that point last year. He had it made up in his mind that the reason Tannehill was throwing interceptions was because Tannehill was taking chances. Now, you all remember me last year. I didn't walk into the season thinking Tannehill was going to suck. I covered the team in training camp, and I was shocked by what I was seeing out of the passing game because I'm like, this is Ryan Tannehill. And then week 3 against the Colts, when I was watching the game, instead of having a narrative built up in my head that this is why this is happening, I watched some of the things Tannehill was doing. I'm like, this isn't right. This is not the Ryan Tannehill I've seen before. So I used the deductive reasoning of, look, I bought into the excuses last year in training camp too. I'm not innocent. I bought into the excuses. But I noticed that there were a lot of excuses last year, and then when it got to the season, he wasn't very good, and there were a lot of excuses about that. And then when it got to the playoffs, he was downright horrible and probably cost his team a Super Bowl. That's what happened last year. Now, why it happened, I can't tell you why. They don't know why. I don't know why. You don't know why. Joe doesn't know why.
We can speculate.
Yes. Joe's convinced it's the offensive line, right?
I believe so.
Well, you think John Robinson thinks that?
Probably not, because he didn't draft one.
They didn't do anything. So this idea, the only thing they did was cut the one Pro Bowler off of it. The idea that Ryan Tannehill wasn't bad last year in training camp is fake. It's right there.
Did Joe deny that he was throwing interceptions in training camp, though?
Well, I mean, I guess Joe's theory, that I felt like your question is asking, does the quarterback throwing a bunch of interceptions and us talking about it every day, is that necessarily a bad thing? And I would answer to that, yes, it is necessarily a bad thing. But Joe's claim was that nobody was talking about it. No, Joe was find me the coverage.
About it.
He was find me the coverage. And I just found 3 minutes of questions and answers about interceptions in training camp. The entire time. Because this is like, Joe, find me any coverage. I found an article. That doesn't count. It's like when we had a Jared versus Joe argument about Jeffrey Simmons, and he said I could have any metric I wanted.
Oh.
I went with sacks. He said no. I'm like, yo, you said any metric.
But what other metric are you going to use?
Joe is like a politician. That is, if it doesn't fit his argument, what he's already decided in his head, it doesn't count. For me, I look at
that sounds awfully familiar.
No, because, and I'll give you an example of this. I thought Dak Prescott at 6th in the Madden ratings was absolutely absurd. And I went back and did a lot of research between Saturday and Sunday. So on SiriusXM Saturday and Sunday this Dak Prescott thing was a topic. I went back and did a lot of research, put a bunch of quarterbacks I thought were going to have better stats than Dak Prescott. Ultimately, they didn't. And the topic was, when I went back and did the research, I think maybe I was underestimating Dak Prescott.
But it doesn't feel like he should be the 6th best quarterback in the NFL.
No, and Russell and Lamar, in all the categories I was looking at, they were ahead of Dak.
Uh-huh.
So Dak shouldn't have been the 6th best. But my point
top
is,
10.
My point is I thought the numbers were going to be obvious, that when I went back and looked at them,
But they
that I
weren't.
could be like, man, these guys all or whatever. And Dak wasn't. Dak was better than Justin Herbert in a lot of categories.
And
he
there are
was
probably
better
so
than-
many different stats and metrics out there that you could paint a picture in any way that you
I
like.
could cherry pick them if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But again, I went back and did the research, and after I did the research, I had to say, it's not as egregious as I originally thought. But what I'm saying here is they'll talk about this tomorrow on Robbie and Joe. And, I love Joe. They'll talk about this tomorrow on Robbie and Joe, and Joe will say it doesn't count.
Robbie and Rex Road?
Yeah.
That's what that show's called.
Whatever. They'll talk about it tomorrow morning, and Joe will say that it doesn't count.
Well, I'm trying to...
Hey, find me the coverage. Find me any coverage of us talking about all the interceptions. Here's 3 minutes of it.
I'm trying to figure out
Doesn't
the
count.
argument. Because Joe's argument that nobody was talking about it is incorrect, as we've just seen.
Well, Ian, play the clip again from this morning. This is the argument. This is Joe's argument. This was this morning.
Yes, Tannehill threw a few picks in camp. You've now revised the history, and he was bad. Like it was a big story last year. I want you to go back. I want you to spend some time today, and I want you to go back and find all the instances of coverage, whatever it was, you, us, anything written about the bad.
Why do I have to do that?
Because you are the one with a stupid opinion. So you have to back it up.
So all he wanted me to do was find the coverage. I found an article he didn't like, found 3 minutes, and I didn't find it, Ian did, but 3 minutes of question and answers and everything else, and I guarantee you, here you go, Titans Wire, Tennessee Titans, this is the headline, Tennessee, no, this was from the season, this wasn't training camp. I put in there that I put in training camp, but, again, I feel like I met the burden of proof here.
I'm trying to think back. If the biggest story of training camp, and I really don't remember it, if the biggest story of training camp wasn't Tannehill, what was it?
It was
Julio?
that whole, no, well, that was probably a big story, but it was the whole Shane Bowen, Jim Schwartz, is the defense going to be better? Because the offense was going to be the freaking greatest show on grass. And the defense, if the defense could just not be terrible, then this team was going to have a shot at a Super Bowl. And the defense was more than not terrible, unfortunately. Tannehill wasn't very good. But that would be the secondary story. The story inside of camp last year, the story that really took off were the injuries at receiver and why Tannehill was struggling. And they were put in together of the reason that Tannehill is struggling is because of all the injuries, and everything will be okay.
And I remember it, like the AJ thing, like AJ was in and out.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
So that all
the
played
injuries,
with it, which was,
yeah.
It's not Tannehill's fault. I mean,
He's
thrown
thrown
into
to new
Marcus
guys.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Here's the thing
very
that
much so was a story. Does it necessarily, did that indicate why Tannehill was so bad? Maybe a little bit, but also not completely.
And again,
Tannehill playing well in his first day of training camp doesn't mean that he's going to be a Pro Bowler, nor does that mean for Treylon Burks, nor does that mean that for anybody.
And here's the tough part, too, about all this. We have no idea why no idea. We don't know for sure why Tannehill was terrible last year.
It could be a combination of things. It could be one thing.
We don't know. But that's what makes Tannehill's badness last year. And the fact that this team has we'll just get to it on the other side of your phone. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I absolutely love my friends at Hiller. They take fantastic care of my home, and they can do the same for you. Hiller is celebrating the home of the free all July long with special deals for our customers. This month only, take advantage of free whole home surge protection and interest-free financing for 12 months with the purchase of a new whole home generator. They also have a free programmable thermostat and interest-free financing for up to 48 months on select new HVAC units. Free water sensor leak detection and interest-free financing for 12 months when you buy a new tankless water heater, and all of these purchases come with a free Happy Hiller Club membership. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be or service is free guarantee. And these deals are only happening in July, so customers should call as soon as possible. Those are my guys at Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, this is Matt Duchene, and this is Smashville.
Running down the left side with Duchene. Duchene scores! Matt Duchene with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Our diamonds are direct from the source, direct from the cutters. There's no middlemen, there's no markup.
Meet Ben Wilkes, 10-year jewelry professional at Genesis Diamonds.
We've got everything from half a carat all the way up to 15 carats and everything in between. So I never have to go looking for something.
And if you're in search of that one-of-a-kind designer ring,
lots of times they come in and she's got a very specific picture, something that she wants, and she's shocked and amazed when I go right to a case and pull exactly what she's been looking at out.
And beyond the best price and selection, every customer at Genesis gets one-on-one personal attention with no hidden agenda.
Every customer that I've ever worked with has my personal cell phone number. It doesn't come from an automated system. It is person-to-person interaction. We're not on commission, so what that means is regardless of what you buy or don't buy, I'm paid the same.
Genesis Diamonds.
Here you get more, you get bigger, better, you get prettier. The quality, the selection, transparency, customer service, it can't be touched. It's unmatched.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
Wendy's new Strawberry Frosty is here, so check your watch. Is it Frosty time yet? It probably is. The hour hand would be on, I'm feeling snacky. And the minute hand would be on, relaxing with a rich, creamy strawberry frosty on a summer day, just digging into that smooth, chilly deliciousness and vibing. You know, depending on what kind of watch you have. When it's time for Frosty time, choose wisely. Choose Wendy's Frosty and Classic Chocolate or New Strawberry.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets, courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Last year we asked you a lot at training camp about training camp interceptions. And if it was good offense or bad defense, you start the 7-on-7 with two long passes, one to Nick and one to Traylon. Is that good offense or bad defense?
I mean, I don't know, man. I try to go out and take advantage of the reps we get. You know, we had an opportunity. Nick did a great job of winning on the corner there. Had a low safety and were able to hit him deep on the first one. And then Traylon had a one-on-one on the backside on the second one. So, you know, when we get those opportunities, we want to take advantage of them and to start off the camp, this year, being able to have guys go make plays and read down the field. It's a good start, and hopefully we can build on it.
There you go. That was Tannehill yesterday. See, look, I'm being fair. Last year, we asked about good defense, bad offense? Question mark. Yesterday, Tannehill comes out popping. Good offense, bad defense? Question mark. And I asked Kevin Byard the same question because as easy as it would be to say the Titans' defense was good last year, so it'll be good this year, the Titans' offense was good in 2020, and it was bad last year. And the Titans' defense was horrible in 2020, and it was good last year.
Well, there are also more changes to the Titans' offense from 2020 to 2021 than there have been changes to the Titans' defense from 2021 to 2022.
Yes. But
so I feel more comfortable and confident in thinking that the defense won't take as big of a step back or a step back at all as much as the offense did.
I agree. But what I won't do is I won't have my mind made up, walk into camp, and then whatever I see, find a way for it to confirm my belief. My beliefs will be made upon what I see in camp.
Which is fair.
With that, we go to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Do we have anybody weighing in on whether or not I proved Joe's burden of proof as to whether or not the story last year at training camp where we were talking extensively about Tannehill's interceptions?
No.
Really?
No. Well, Kyle texts in and says, I remember it being talked about a little bit on this show in the morning and the midday shows. Last training camp, there was a little worry, but it was just swept under the rug and labeled not a big deal. It was talked about because I vividly remember not being worried about it at all at the time, and it figures it was just a training camp talking point.
So I want to say that I wasn't that worried either last year until the Indianapolis game in week 3. And then I was like, something's not right. And then it just kept adding and adding and adding. Because remember, they played Indy in week 3. He threw 2 interceptions, one of which was not his fault. The ball went off the shoulder pad of Chester Rogers into the air and intercepted. But he also had some bad throwaways that he didn't get burned on, but easily could have. And I watched that game, and they won. And I remember thinking, boy, that was not good. And I knew before I had this take that the phones and everything else after a Titans win was going to be, we won, Jared. Give us a break. We won. And I remember I know. And remember what I said. I go, I'm worried about the Jets. The stinky Jets. I'm worried. The way they played yesterday, if they play that way against the stinky Jets, they're going to be in trouble. And everybody thought I was being crazy because everybody has it made up in their mind that I'm nuts. And then on that Friday,
well, and everyone also had it made up in their minds that the Jets stink, which they
did. On that Friday, I picked the Jets, and everybody thought I was nuts. And Tannehill stunk it up. And so it took a while for people to start to see that, man, this is not right. Then everybody started coming up with their reasons why. And, I mean, I have my reasons why. I think that, he said it was a whole bunch of different things. I'm convinced the Titans don't know why. The Titans think they might know why, but I don't even think the Titans know why Tannehill took such a massive step back from 2020 in 2021 from 2020. I don't think they know why. I think they have an idea and they're trying out their theories on it, but I don't think they know for sure. Nobody knows for sure.
Think about all of the different things we threw out there. Offensive line, receivers, no tight end, offensive coordinator. They only fixed 2 of those things. Fixed, maybe not be the right word, but adjusted or changed 2 of those things.
Coordinator and tight end?
Receiver and tight end.
Well, coordinator. I mean, they brought in Tim Kelly.
Yeah, but
I know.
I guess you could consider that, being one of those things. Or did they view it, hey, we brought in Jim Schwartz to help the defense, so helping Tim Kelly will help the offense.
So I don't know, because my problem with Downing
But the one thing they did not adjust at all was the offensive line.
My problem with Downing was not the game planning. It was the play calling. Mm-hmm. It was when he would call certain plays. Well, you could bring in 100 advisors. But with the 20 seconds that he has to make the decision to tell Ryan Tannehill what to do, that's his decision. That is, headset on, 29, X Queen, Eagle Y, Spider 2, Banana. That's his call. And there's not enough time to have somebody else say, let's not run that one. Let's run something else. There's not enough time for that. You only have 3 timeouts a half anyways. What's next?
Another texter texts in, and our good old friend Indy Ben texts in. Says Tannehill will still wet the bed in the playoffs. A lot of players do well in training camp, but then underwhelm when the games count. Marcus Williams and Chester Rogers are examples of that for the Titans.
Okay, so I would say he's thinking of Marcus Johnson. Yes. I would say that Indy Ben has his mind made up.
Yes.
So that's the problem that I have with a lot of this. And it's as much of a societal problem that I have as can win the Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. I don't think it. But guess what? If Ryan Tannehill goes out there this year and all of a sudden turns into Peyton Manning, and we've seen, certain offensive coaches that can do certain things with quarterbacks or certain receivers like Randy Moss made Dante Culpepper. We've seen that time and time again. Maybe something like that happens. Sean Payton to Drew Brees, maybe that's what Arthur Smith was to Tannehill. But we see something that happens, and all of us, if Tannehill goes out there and has a season where he throws 59 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, I mean, the data will tell me in my head what I'll see will probably make me feel differently. But what I'm not doing is I'm not going to sit there after Tannehill goes out in the AFC Championship game and the Titans smoked Kansas City 41-3, and Tannehill's 31 of 36 for 412 yards, like Brady throwing to Randy Moss in 2007. And I'm not going to say, well, I know Ryan Tannehill can't win that. Like, I know. With anything in life, you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to let what you see change your opinion. And again, my opinion on Tannehill has not changed because he was 8 for 8 of the first day of training camp. I'm just saying that Ryan Tannehill last year threw the ball to the other team a lot in training camp. Ryan Tannehill last season in the regular season threw the ball more times to the other team than he did the previous 2 years combined. And Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs, I said on Monday that he's got a clean slate, and I keep bringing it back up, but he threw the ball to the other team a lot in the playoffs, as we all know. Well, if Ryan Tannehill's going 8 for 8 in training camp and is not throwing the ball to the other team, like he didn't throw the ball to the other team in 2019 and 2020, that's a really good sign. Because there's enough
But it's also
data.
1 day of training camp.
I agree.
And 8 completions.
I agree.
But we'll take it a day at a time.
It's for that day.
That was good.
It was good. What did I say after the Dolphins game last year when the Titans looked like they were going to be the number 1 team in the AFC? They are 3 games of him not turning it over away from the Super Bowl. And after seeing how it played out, I feel even more right than I felt that day saying it. And so right now, all I'm going off of is what I have to go off of, which is I have a history, a 3-season history, which has a preceding 3 training camps before it. And training camp has foreshadowed the regular season. And in the case of last year, the regular season foreshadowed the postseason. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Kyler Murray is mad at everyone. So we have to get to that next. Stillman and Company, 1025 the game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Our stormy pattern continues right into Friday with scattered showers possible containing heavy rain. Highs will top off in the upper 80s, still feeling muggy as we head into the weekend. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you're looking to hire, look to Indeed. With Indeed's end-to-end hiring solution, you can attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This is a big month for some of our teammates at Cromwell Media. At 1025, 1063 The Game, producer Kenny Adams is celebrating a 10-year anniversary. Also at The Game, morning show producer Michelle Knezovic and part-time producer Nick Keyser are both crossing the 1-year mark. At 1029 The Buzz, Eric Steele, our rock star evening host, and Andy Herron, a part-time host, have been with us for 8 years. We are Cromwell Media and proud of our employees who commit themselves to excellence every day. Want to join our team? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra, results vary.
For the love of the climb, for the love of the fall, for the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Chase McCabe.
My play didn't work for him, and the way he coached didn't work for me.
Willie Donick.
It's survival of the fittest.
And Derek Mason.
A win-win-win across the board.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Today, I'm talking today because, I feel it's necessary, with what's going on as far as regarding me and the things that are being said about me. It's almost, to think that I can accomplish everything that I've accomplished in my career and not be a student of the game and not have that passion and not take this serious is almost, it's disrespectful, and it's almost a joke, It's, to me, I'm flattered. I'm honestly flattered that y'all think that at my size I can go out there and not prepare for the game and not not take it serious. It's disrespectful, I feel like, to my peers, to all the great athletes and great players that are in this league. This game's too hard. To play the position that I play in this league, it's too hard. And I don't do this often. I don't talk about myself, but today I feel like I have to. And so I'm going to list the accolades. To go 43-0 in high school in Texas. Some are going to say, oh, it's high school. That's cool, but nobody else has done it. Go to college, win the Heisman.
So Kyler's like, everybody thinks that I'm lazy because I had to sign a contract that had a clause in it that they could essentially fire me for being lazy. Think about that. Does anybody ever wonder if Joe Burrow will have to go into does Joe Burrow work hard enough? No. Nobody. Peyton Manning, I was listening to McAfee talk about this. He asked Peyton one time how much film Peyton watches when they played together in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning apparently watches every game that the other team plays, every situation that team is in, third down, goal line, whatever, that he's watching tape all day Monday and Tuesday when they don't practice, and that he's got to watch his own tape from what they did the week before. Then he's got to watch the practice tape of what they did in practice during the week. Then he's got to watch similar defenses against him and how they've acted, similar offenses and how the defense that he's about to play has acted, and that Peyton is literally watching tape all day on Saturday, and Peyton is even watching tape on Sunday morning before a game.
I didn't need to know how much tape he watches because I assume.
You assume.
I've never questioned how much tape Peyton Manning or Joe Burrow or Tom Brady or any great quarterback has ever watched because I just assume.
Like all these plays that we talk about in training camp that the Titans are running, and this throw Woodside made to Burks, and every Titan coach is watching that, and they're watching their group with their players and going over each and every one of them. Now, there's a history of guys that were so talented that they didn't care. They slept in the meetings. They didn't show up for the meetings. They didn't. Lawrence Taylor could do that. Antonio Brown can do that. Quarterbacks can't.
No.
Because quarterback is responsible for everybody. By the way, Kyler told the New York Times a couple of years ago that, I don't really watch film all day because I can see it before it happens. And now he's saying, I feel like I'm disrespected because my contract clause leaked and everybody knows how lazy I am. Well, let me tell you about a story of a lazy quarterback who, like Kyler, had a great college career. Didn't win the Heisman like Kyler did, but won the national championship single-handedly, and Kyler didn't do that. Got drafted very, very high, first quarterback off the board, just like Kyler. 2 Pro Bowls, just like Kyler. Rookie of the Year, just like Kyler. And was abysmal in the playoffs, just like Kyler. His name was Vince Young. He was the quarterback here. And I'll say this about Vince Young, and I was a big Vince Young fan back in the day. There might not be a single player on the Tennessee Titans in the history of the franchise since they've been Titans that has more God-given talent than Vince Young. Vince Young had a cannon for an arm, wasn't the most accurate quarterback, and had that weird little sidearm delivery. Vince Young won games by himself. Vince Young, look at Vince Young's record. Vince Young was incredible. Look at some of the comebacks Vince Young led. They were down 21 points to the Giants. In the fourth quarter, Vince Young came back and won that game single-handedly. Vince Young saved a season in 2009, saved Jeff Fisher's job a couple times. Vince Young was awesome. But Vince Young didn't put in the work. Vince Young didn't want to put in the work. They tried to tell Vince Young, you got to put in the work, and Vince Young didn't do it. And Vince Young got paid now. And then Vince Young went away. And after a while, people got sick of the fact that even though Vince Young had all this talent and that he could do things other guys couldn't do, it didn't work out. Vince Young had an attitude. Kyler's got an attitude. Vince Young was a little selfish. Kyler's selfish. Kyler feels disrespected of a contract clause that he signed. And now he feels disrespected? Now he's telling us that, yeah, that contract clause that I signed, there's no reason that I should have signed it. Let me get up here and tell you that I'm disrespected. You can't comprehend how much work I put into this. I think a lot of people put in a lot of work, Kyler, and a lot of things that they do, even if it's not football. Kyler Murray is a freaking joke. And if I owned the Arizona Cardinals, and you know the Arizona Cardinals had reservations about signing Kyler because, A, they included this clause in the contract that Buffalo didn't include in Josh Allen's, that Kansas City didn't include in Patrick Mahomes, that they had reservations about doing this, or else Kyler wouldn't have bitched all offseason about wanting a new contract because he would have just gotten a new contract. Kyler Murray is a loser, just like Vince Young. And I hate to say it because Vince Young was so good in certain moments. But because Vince Young didn't work hard, Vince Young's career kind of stunk. And I have to say, Kyler Murray, congratulations, Kyler. Congratulations on a good college career. Congratulations on 2 Pro Bowls. Congratulations on Rookie of the Year. Congratulations on getting your team to the playoffs and getting smoked. You now have Vince Young's career. How's it feel?
Well, and he feels disrespected from all of the outcry after that clause was leaked because he got mad at people jumping to really the only conclusion that you can jump to when you see a clause like that. But that's why I wonder who leaked that clause. Because there's only 3 parties that have access to that contract. That's the Arizona Cardinals, that's Kyler Murray, and that's Kyler Murray's agent.
And Kyler Murray's agent is also Cliff Kingsbury's agent.
So I know Kyler Murray didn't leak that. Why would he do that?
Right. There's more people that have access to that contract, though.
Like who?
Like the PA has access to the contract. The NFL league office has access to the
why
contract.
would all of those entities want to leak that clause?
So the one thing
who does leak that?
I am not pointing a finger, and this is my way of saying I could see the connection, but I'm not accusing anybody of anything here. Ian Rappaport's the one who broke the story, and he works for the league-owned network. So I wonder if it came out from somebody in the league. Somebody who probably didn't even care, but just saw this clause in that contract and thought, get a freaking load of this. And then, showed it to Ian Rappaport, and Ian Rappaport reported it. And Ian Rappaport, here's the thing about when you work for NFL Network, which he does, the NFL has to be okay about what you report.
Yeah.
That you work for the NFL. So in this case.
But it just feels odd that the league would be totally okay with this clause coming out.
So Floyd told me that Bill Belichick's contract is negotiated between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. It's signed by Bill Belichick, given to Robert Kraft, and Robert Kraft hand delivers it to Roger Goodell. And that those are the only 3 people that see the contract. Now, I have to believe lawyers, see those contracts. Like Bill has a lawyer, Robert has a lawyer, that looks at those things. But that is how serious Belichick takes his contract. Nobody knows how much money Belichick makes. It's been reported Belichick makes $20 million a year, but nobody has it definitively because Bill signs it, Robert takes it to Goodell, Goodell's got it.
And I always go back to how does information leak?
Somebody wants it to leak.
Somebody wants it leaked.
And it leaked to the league-owned network. Think about that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Watched the offensive lineman today. I would say that I don't even know if the Titans can be all that confident in the offensive line. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5 The Game.
You watch the game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
I'm Joe Namath, here to tell you about another number 12. USA Hemp Store's original number 12. USA Hemp Store cream is hypoallergenic and uses an easy-to-apply blend of ingredients designed to go on gently. And with no odor, no one knows you've got it on. Except you, of course.
The original number 12 CBD creams. Grown in the USA, THC-free, lab-tested. And a portion of every sale supports Homes for Veterans Incorporated.
USA Hemp Store's original number 12 works like it does for me.
With this special Joe Namath offer, get the original number 12 just $34.95. Free shipping on every order. Distributorships available. Call to learn more. 844-305-1212. 844-305-1212. Or visit usahempstore.com. usahempstore.com. THC free is below the level of detection using validated scientific methods. Alexa Labs June 2022 certification analysis. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees about the results of taking any action, whether recommended in this advertisement or not. USA Hemp Store is not making any guarantees nor any endorsements concerning any of its products. Paid endorsement.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, you know the traditional treatments: pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Donick here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
IndyCar is back in downtown Nashville. Single-day tickets for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August 5th through the 7th, are on sale Wednesday, June 29th. Enjoy action-packed racing, huge concerts, cheering fans, and the biggest party of the year. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of entertainment you don't want to miss. Get tickets at MusicCityGP.com.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. If you're a renter, make sure you're protected. Renter's insurance includes options that cover stolen property, personal injury, and living expenses if your place is damaged. Quote renter's insurance at Progressive.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set.
Checker flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury. He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Day number 2 of Titans Camp. Caroline was there, I was there, and our training camp coverage is presented by USA Hemp Store and Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. So, today, the Titans took it light. They didn't really do a whole lot, but I did watch the offensive line. And I did watch and evaluated their techniques, or, I evaluated if I felt like they were doing what the coaches wanted them to do. And I was giving away pluses and minuses, and this guy gets a plus, and that guy gets a minus, and this guy. And I had a very scientific formula for figuring out how to get there. As you can back up, it was probably the best formula that I could use to evaluate the technique of the offensive line that was available to really me or anybody else that was out there.
With the resources at hand, yes.
So basically, I went through it. I thought Aaron Brewer got a plus. Taylor Lewan got a plus. Nate Davis got a couple of pluses. 62, Corey Levin got a plus. 78. Where did I put my roster? Oh, it's right here. Hold on one second.
78, Petit Frere.
He got a plus. 71, Jalen Mckenzie, who I've never heard of, a tackle from USC. He got a plus. Carson Green, an offensive guard I've never heard of. He got a minus. And then Dylan Radins got 2 minuses today. He led the way at -2 for the day. And I'll say this. The Titans want Dylan Radins to be the right tackle. It's obvious they want him to be the right tackle. They drafted him with a second-round pick. They invested in him. It was obvious last year. They didn't think he had it in him to be able to play. This year, he won offseason player of the year. They didn't bring one of the offseason player of the year awards. They didn't bring back David Quessenberry, who had started every game for them last year at right tackle. They've even gone on record saying he's going to get the first crack at starting at right tackle. And I was talking to Paul Kaharski today because Paul Kaharski has this Dylan Radins take that I don't think is a good take, which is, Dylan Radins does not want the job enough. And I don't think that's true because I asked Dylan if he wants the job, and Dylan says, yeah, he wants the job. Dylan obviously worked his butt off in the offseason because Mike Vrabel named him one of the offseason players of the year. The Titans talk about how hard Dylan works. Now, just because Dylan doesn't come out and say, I should be the starter, doesn't mean that, it's a bad thing or what. I just don't think Vrabel wants that guy. I told Paul that. And Paul was talking about, other guys have been more forceful about wanting the jobs and everything else. And ultimately, I told Paul, look, I agree with you. He probably sucks. If I had to guess, I would say that the Titans are trying to hope this into existence.
But he doesn't suck because he doesn't want the job enough.
Right. He wants the job plenty. He might just not be good. This is not Vince Young.
That's the
that
real
we just
issue
talked about.
at hand.
Vince Young had the talent to be good. Vince Young just didn't want it enough. Radins might not have the talent. And today, I felt like his technique in the offensive line drills warranted a lot of correcting. Just my opinion, but I felt that way. Now, maybe I felt that his technique warranted a lot of correcting because they and I feel like for him to be ready to play right tackle against the Giants and the Bills, that, you got to correct him way more than they have to correct
Carson Green.
Whoever the hell that Christian DeLorio, who is not going to start at tackle this year for the Titans. Maybe that's the case. But I do wonder how concerned the Titans are with their offensive line. The story of training camp is Tannehill. The story of the season is going to be Tannehill. But the reason the offensive line is such a big deal is because how it affects Ryan Tannehill. The story right now for me in Cincinnati, I would assume, is probably Jesse Bates. But the story should be the fact that they've got one offensive lineman on the PUP list that they signed, Alex Kappa, and one offensive lineman, La'el Collins, on the non-football injury list. Because if Joe Burrow gets sacked 7 times again a game, Joe Burrow might not make it through the season. And if Joe Burrow doesn't make it through the season, you lose.
They got no chance.
Today, Tom Brady, #1 story on ESPN, their center, Pro Bowler Ryan Jensen, got carted off on a non-contact knee injury.
I saw that.
Which, T's and P's, because that probably is an ACL. A non-contact knee usually carted off is not good. And so that's a big story because how does that affect Brady? Well, I don't know the reason why Tannehill struggled last year. A lot of people have said it was the wide receivers. And the Titans went out and traded for Robert Woods, who, while he's coming off of an ACL is not an injury that usually continues to pop up. They traded for Traylon Burks. AJ's availability had been, or they traded for the right to draft Traylon Burks. AJ's availability has been an issue in the past. They signed a tight end. Maybe it was receivers. Maybe it was coaching. They went out and they got another guy to help out Todd Downing for whatever reason. But offensive line was well discussed, and the Titans didn't do anything except cut Roger Saffold. Lawan returns, and he's a so-so left tackle. Did you see what one unnamed either coach or executive or whatever said in the Jeremy Fowler list about Taylor Lewan?
I don't think so.
So Jeremy Fowler put those top 10 lists together at ESPN, and there were 50 coaches, players, executives, scouts. It was either an executive or a scout or a coach that said that Taylor Lewan is kind of getting by right now on reputation and that his play is not matching up with what people probably think of him. And that's a little bit of a concern, but the Titans didn't do anything there. They brought back Ben Jones at center. Nate Davis stays at right guard. They cut the one Pro Bowler they had, Roger Saffold. They're putting an undersized Aaron Brewer or Jamarco Jones, who couldn't get on the field with the crap Seattle Seahawks, who have for years had a horrendous offensive line. And they put Radens in there, who wasn't even active in the Cincinnati playoff game. So the Titans weren't as concerned about the offensive line maybe as a lot of us were going into the offseason because they didn't do anything about it. The best thing they did was they drafted Petit Ferreira in the 3rd round. And just based off of what I saw today, I think there is cause for concern about Radens' technique and Brewer's size. And Jones' technique is worrisome as well. But I worry that the Titans, well, I don't worry about this. I am assuming that the Titans are not putting as much weight into Jamarco Jones as a player as they are Aaron Brewer or Dylan Radens. So I'm worried.
And to your point about, Seattle having a bad offensive line in the past couple of years.
For years.
He never played.
Never played.
That was one of the knocks on Jamarco Jones, that he never played. So it's not fair to loop him into the awful offensive line conversation whenever he didn't play. But also to that same argument, if the offensive line was so bad and he never played, is he just as bad or worse than the offensive line that was out there?
Clearly it's worse to Pete Carroll.
I don't know.
But that's offensive line right now,
I don't know
and we
that.
won't know for a while on offensive line. I believe the Titans have in their back pocket, and I don't know, who's out there. This happens every time. Say a wide receiver gets hurt, knock on wood. A wide receiver gets hurt. And what normally happens is a lot of fans will go to some website and see who's the top free agent wide receiver that's still available, and then we'll say, oh, Jared, they have to go get this guy. And that's how we ended up with the whole Golden Tate thing last year. Mm-hmm. That is what happens.
Adrian Peterson,
right. I believe there's probably a tackle out there, or there will be a practice squad tackle that has a little bit of NFL experience that the Titans will believe that they can go claim and place at right tackle if they have to. Kind of what they did with Quessenberry last year. They didn't claim him, but Quessenberry was a replacement level player, and they plugged him in the hole. The Titans will do that if they have to. I think they're hoping that they don't have to do that with Radens, but it's going to take a lot of coaching because, again, his technique, in my opinion today, needed a lot of correcting.
And I do wonder how much stock the Titans are putting into, or consideration the Titans are putting into, to Nicholas Petit-Frere. I mean, he played tackle in college. I know he played left tackle. I understand that.
And the only memory I have of him in college is getting his just rear end smacked by
Aiden Hutchinson. But also, a top pick in the draft. But you're going to be going up against those guys every week.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if Radens, under your system, thinking that he might need a lot of attention or correction, if it gets to the point where they think he's just not that guy, is it go find another tackle off a practice squad, or is it, Nicholas, you're up?
I don't know.
I know he played on the left side.
I don't know.
And that's probably a concern of theirs.
I don't know. That would have been a better question to ask Vrabel than the question I did ask Vrabel today.
We'll write that one down.
About whether or not Petit-Frere could find his way into the mix at right tackle. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But Vrabel even said Dylan Radens is going to get the first crack at it. And he's getting a crack. And, again, I just think he needed, in my opinion, a lot of correcting today. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I do think fans are worried about the offensive line. Like, I'm not monitoring the text line and your phones and anything else. I do think fans are probably worried about the offensive line. I also do think that everybody usually is worried about their own offensive line probably every year. 615-737-1025. Speaking of offensive line, Vrabel tells us exactly how he feels about one position. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn him loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
What up, world? This is your boy Kevin Hart, a.k.a. the comedic rock star. And guess what? I'm coming to a city near you with my new tour, Reality Check. And we are adding shows, doing it big. Brand new hour material, big laughs, big energy. Make sure you're in the building. Don't miss your chance to get your tickets.
Don't miss Kevin Hart, Reality Check Tour, this Wednesday at Bridgestone Arena. Get tickets now.
Go to KevinHartNation.com now.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet Buick GMC. When this hot summer weather comes, I'm reminded of what my grandmother used to say. It's so hot outside, the hens are using potholders to pick up the worms. I was never really sure what that meant, but when she said it, I knew it was hot. I mean, if things are hot, that tells you something. And it's not always good. Take your car, for example. If it's running hot, something's wrong. If your air conditioner, like so many people, is blowing hot these days, something's wrong. When your tires get hot, they wear out faster, which means something's wrong. But here at Newton, we want to help right those wrongs. We have an amazing service department that'll keep your car running its best through all this heat. We have amazing technicians ready to diagnose and repair your car no matter what the problem is. We want to keep your car running smoothly in the easiest way possible. So let us help. Schedule your service online today at NewtonChevroletBuickGMC.com.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Summer heat is here. How is your air conditioner holding up? Costs are rising everywhere. Grocery bills, gas bills, utility bills, you name it, up, up, up. Is your AC old, inefficient, costing more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months. No interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. All new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Guys, Dylan, Nicholas, Brewer, and the technique that they're showing, even though they're not wearing pads right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, we talk about pads being for protection and being able to do your job or make plays with your hands, whether that's a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman at any position. So their ability to punch, to replace, to get their backside hand, in the sternum, wherever it needs to be on certain blocks. I think that it's been good. It's improved, but we're just getting started. So I think some of that stuff will continue to show, and we can evaluate it, next week, especially as we get pads on. But they're able to practice all the techniques that they're going to need just maybe not some of the contact and some of the shoulder contact that comes in on some blocks, not all blocks.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel talking about the technique of the young offensive lineman. And I don't know how much people care about this. Talking about offensive line is normally not something that moves the needle when it comes to doing a radio show. But I'm a little worried about the offensive line.
I think it's a fair worry.
I mean, I'm a little worried. And not only that, Aaron Brewer looks like a baby out there. I mean, he is, again, I have the roster in front of me. Jamarco Jones, who they signed from the Seattle Seahawks, who I think started 7 games in 3 years. Jamarco Jones, according to this,
I don't even think it was that many,
weighs 293 pounds. According to this, Aaron Brewer, who I believe is going to start at guard for the Titans this year, Aaron Brewer is 295 pounds. That's bullcrap. I don't know which one's bullcrap. I don't know if they're both bullcrap, but that's bullcrap. Because
how often do they weigh in?
I don't know. And well, they weigh in with the team every day. How often do they weigh in
actually put
on the
it
chart?
On here?
I don't know if the weigh-ins on the chart, if they do that, or if they just tell, like if they doctor it up and they then give it to Robbie Bourne and say, hey, this guy's 260 pounds.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a ton of doctoring, especially on the height side of things. But I do wonder, I'm sure
the height side is like the Rocco Grimaldi 5'10".
Yeah, please. Rocco Grimaldi is my height, and I am not 5'10". But I do wonder, do they just, throw weights on there at whenever they report, and then that's it? Because their weight's got to fluctuate one way or another a ton.
I just know Aaron Brewer's not 295. Aaron Brewer is a baby, and he's undersized. And right now, and I'm not saying that he's going to start at left guard, but listen to Vrabel, okay? Listen to Vrabel talk about the two guys vying for that position, and you tell me who Vrabel likes more. This is Vrabel talking about Aaron Brewer.
We were talking with Aaron Brewer. He was mentioning just about he gets asked about his size all the time or whatever. What does he do so well to, I guess, you work around not being the biggest guy?
Well, he's explosive. He's quick. He's tougher than $2 steak, and he understands the angles and trying to get the guys, and understands pad level, technique, and those are a lot of things that he can do that somebody that's bigger can't. Just the way that he moves. So I just like the way he competes. I like the way that he shows up to work every day and is willing to compete.
Okay, he loves it that he compete. He loves his technique. He loves how hard he works. He loves the fact that, hey, he can move around better than the big guys. But again, he's an offensive guard. I mean, what are we talking about here?
You need your running backs to be able to move around.
You need your tight end to be able to not be covered by. Yes.
Your offensive linemen are the big guys.
Yes. And so Brewer's undersized, but Vrabel, I love the way he competes, love the way he practices, love his technique,
He's tough.
What about the guys competing with Jamarco Jones? Tell us about that one, Mike.
And what have you seen from Jamarco Jones so far? I know he's been playing some guard. How have you seen him kind of acclimate to you guys?
Well, again, new system. I think there's a little bit of things that have to continue to get ironed out, and that we're teaching him. That he's been working on through the offseason. He's got good quickness, good size, and again, he's played in his opportunities that he had to play in this league. He did a nice job. So other than just some minor details that are different, maybe a way we're asking him to do certain things or take a landmark that's a little different, I think that he's going to be in a position to compete and try to help us.
Okay, to me it's obvious. One guy's tougher than a $2 steak. The other guy, man, he coming to another team. He comes to another team. He goes to another team, man. It's a technique, and, we got to work with him. And, played a little bit in the league, I guess. He did okay. And, to me it's pretty obvious how Vrabel feels about those two guys.
Yeah.
Now, Ian, I heard Floyd, every time somebody talked about it, it felt very Anthony Ferkser-esque when people talk about Aaron Brewer. And I'm not here to crap on Aaron Brewer. But how many times, Ian, would Titan fans try to argue that some backup being forced into a starting role was good enough, and the old man would put his foot down that it absolutely, positively was not good enough?
Yeah, Ferkser comes to mind.
Maybe Khalif Raymond a little bit comes to mind.
Dennis Kelly,
a tackle.
I mean, he used to always – Dennis Kelly is a backup. And he would always talk about it like that. And that's how I thought. Remember last year when I did Verkser and I was like, he's a backup. And Quessenberry, Pro Football Focus on Sunday Night Football, #1 right tackle. And I'm like, he's a backup. Brewer is a backup. Like Radens, I don't know if Radens is good or not, but I'm not saying he's a backup. Petit Ferrer, I'm not saying he's a backup. But Brewer's a backup. And the size is why Brewer's a backup. And when I hear Vrabel say things like, well, you know, he's more agile than maybe some of the bigger guys, or he's got good technique, or he's got...
It means he's smaller.
All I can hear is Floyd laughing at the idea. When I see Aaron Brewer out there, and I see how little he is compared to the rest of the offensive linemen, all I can do is hear Floyd laugh in my head about the idea. I mean, we're talking about offensive guard. This is a position where these football guys salivate over, oh, my God, 322 pounds. Oh, God, look at that big old. I mean, I remember one time we did a sit-down with Chance Warmack, and before we went on the air, Floyd asked Chance Warmack how much does he weigh, and it was a huge astronomical number. I forget what it was. And Floyd was like, yeah, that's pretty good, you know. And now we're talking about – now Warmack was awful. But we're talking about offensive guard, and it feels like trying to, you know, fit this guy in because it's convenient to do it because it's there, but he's too little. He's too little. He's a little baby out there at left guard. And you play in a conference that the Jacksonville Jaguars just took a guy #1 out of Georgia because he's the exact opposite of a little baby. They took him because he's so big and he's so fat and he's so strong
honestly,
and he's
terrifying.
so fast. They took him because of all those things. Like fat, I know. You know what? Think about when you play offensive line in the NFL, unless you're too fat. It's like an avocado. That's a good fat. Now, too much of an avocado becomes bad. But
like nut fat.
Yes, too much nut fat, bad because it's high in calories. But the right amount of nut fat is good for your heart. It's good for your body. It's good for burning fat.
The right amount of offensive line fat is good.
Yes. Yes. And Nate Davis is the right amount of offensive line fat. Now, Jeffrey Simmons, that is the kind of – now, Jeffrey Simmons is skinny right now, and I don't know if I like that. You know, I know why Simmons is doing it because Simmons wants to go get to the quarterback.
Right.
But I don't know if I like Simmons getting that skinny.
Skinny's so relative. He's still massive.
Yeah, but you saw Simmons. It doesn't look like Simmons right now, and I'm not sure I like that. Now, he says he only dropped like 5 or 8 pounds or whatever it is, but it doesn't look like 8 pounds. I mean, it looks like Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons looks like he went on that Dan Marino Nutrisystem. Like, that's what it looks like with Simmons. And again, maybe that'll make him more lean and agile, and he'll go get the quarterback, and he'll sack the crap out of him. But there's a part of me that thinks that, you know, hey, you got to stop the run too now, big boy. Like that, they didn't draft you because you were skinny. They didn't draft you to get skinny. Treylon Burks, they drafted him to go get skinny. They didn't draft you to get skinny. So, you know, I don't know. That bothers me. I'd like him to be a little bit more fat.
I don't think you should let it bother you. I think it'll be fine.
Brewer,
I understand.
As long as he doesn't turn into Kevin Pamphile.
Oh, God, poor Pamphile. Hey, Pamphile was on Floyd's list. Boy, he hated him. But the one thing I will say about Brewer is Brewer did hold his own in that Baltimore game that he played, and Derrick Henry ran all over the Ravens, and they had Calais Campbell, and I believe they had Yannick Ngakoue, and, you know, those are some pretty good defensive linemen. So we'll give Brewer credit there, but can he do it week in and week out? Not if he doesn't hit the potato bar, because – I mean, right now, I'd be going up to Aaron Brewer. I would have Aaron Brewer take off of practice tomorrow. You know, if Vrabel gives guys off days.
Yeah.
So that he doesn't burn any more calories. And I would have him take off tomorrow.
Put, like, whey protein in his water.
No. We're going to Golden Corral.
What's that powder that's like 1,000 calories per scoop?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Try to stay away from those things.
But that's what he needs.
But he's too little. It's a guard.
It is noticeable. in practice. He is
By the
noticeably
way,
smaller.
today, and Paul Karski said that he'd go on record with this, so I feel comfortable that I can say this. So I brought this up yesterday that Quentin Spain, when he was here on the Titans, was one of the worst offensive linemen, and he has to be probably the chubbiest offensive lineman in the NFL, and that's saying something. I mean, Quentin Spain is a big old boy. And Quentin Spain went to Buffalo, and he started there for a couple years. I don't understand this. Quentin Spain has started at guard on all these good teams, and he's awful. And every team that has him tries to replace him. Cincinnati this year already brought in 2 more guards trying to replace Quentin Spain. And he has to be like the fattest offensive lineman I've ever seen. And today I was talking when we were waiting for Robert Woods for like 45 minutes. And we're sitting there waiting for Robert Woods. And I was talking to somebody about Quentin Spain. You know, we're talking about Brewer size. And Paul Kaharski looks over and just goes, talking about Quentin Spain. Can I say this on the radio?
I don't know if you can say this on the radio.
I think I can say this on the radio.
Probably so.
Paul said he'd go on record about it. I think I can say it. I think I can say it right.
Say it.
Paul looked at me. He looks at me and goes, he has breasts.
But the best part that people probably can't see was the hand gestures.
He started doing like the 2 hands at the chest. He's like, he has breasts. And then
the conversation just went absolutely off.
And then everybody started paying attention to the conversation. And I guess somebody had their recorder going at the time when we were all waiting for Robert Woods. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a big headline that Paul Kaharski said this. And Paul said, I'll go on record with that.
Yeah, I'll say it.
I'll go on record. So, and I guess the point there again.
Anatomy with Paul Kaharski.
Again, you know, the point there is that here I am complaining about how the left guard is too little. And maybe he becomes a great player like Russell Wilson or Muggsy Bogues or, you know, one of those guys. Maybe he becomes Johnny Gaudreau, you know, like maybe he becomes one of these guys. I doubt it, but maybe. But it's obvious he's too little. But the point I'm making is that, you know, Spain's the biggest, you know, fattest guard in the league, and he's terrible too. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll do a segment of your wonderful phone calls. Plus, Tannehill asked about being a leader. Matt Ryan asked about being a leader. There is a very big difference, and I'm kind of depressed about it. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company on 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Hey Nashville, what's the best part of hockey? That's rhetorical. We all know the answer. It's the 3-on-3 overtime, the speed, the skill, the tic-tac-toe passing. It is electric. Well, now there is a new, totally 3-on-3 ice hockey league called 3 Ice, coming to the Music City on August 6th. They're playing at Bridgestone Arena, and tickets are available now at 3ice.com. 6 teams touring across 9 cities, playing a bracket-style tournament at each stop. It's overtime all the time. Hair on fire hockey. Log on to 3ice.com for tickets now.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play.
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
More than 100 spas in stock and incoming, starting at only $29.99.
Hundreds of sets of patios in stock and on sale.
The Sabre infrared grill in stock and on sale at only $11.99. Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, You know the traditional treatments, pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Donick here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE. 615-895-HOSE.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series against the Charlotte Knights at First Horizon Park.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Do you think you've been more vocal yourself, maybe whether it's talking to a receiver or a coach or whatever, and also I guess do you feel like you've got an increased energy?
I don't know if I don't feel a lot more vocal. I feel like I just am leading the way, that I believe is effective in the way that works for me. So I'm going to continue doing that, continue pushing the envelope, trying to bring this team, this offense along as fast as we can. It's going to be a long process as we go through training camp, but have a big opportunity to get better this training camp, and excited to try to take advantage of each and every day. And I'm proud of our guys the way we came out here day one and got off to a good start.
There you go. That was Tannehill yesterday. I don't think I've been more vocal, but I actually have in my notes from yesterday's practice, Tannehill vocal with starting players in, it was kind of a shell where there was no defense and they were just running routes on air. And I felt like Tannehill was telling everybody what to do. Like, hey, you just go over here, you go there, you this. Okay, all right. And that is just something I'm not used to seeing. Tannehill being more forceful, more direct. But then Tannehill asked about it. I don't think I've been any different. And I'm like, Ryan, why don't you just take the compliment that John Glennon was pretty much giving you right there in that question, with that leading,
It was a very humble response from Tannehill.
It was, I don't think I'm doing anything different. So Matt Ryan is at Colts camp, and I know Ryan Tannehill is a better leader than the Colts' last quarterback. I am worried that Ryan Tannehill is not as good of a leader as the Colts' current quarterback. I'm worried that the leadership of the current Colts quarterback, combined with the team's desire to want to believe in him as their savior, might actually be a tangible benefit to the Indianapolis Colts.
And sure, it might be.
Matt Ryan, question. What do you do to make sure your teammates stay sharp? Question mark. Matt Ryan, quote, keep a foot up their ass.
All right.
Thank
you, Matt.
Want Tannehill to put a foot up somebody's rear end.
Do we know that he's not?
I'm going to sound like Joe Rexrode here. Do I know for sure that he's not?
No.
But do I think he doesn't? I don't think Tannehill has that in him. I think Tannehill has a little bit more of it in him than Marcus Mariota, because Marcus didn't have that in him. I love Marcus, but Marcus didn't have it in him. I doubt he has as much of that in him as Tom Brady does.
And I think that's fair.
And now that's the extreme example.
And I don't think a lot of people do have what Tom Brady has.
Agreed. I mean, I remember this. The first practice against the Buccaneers last year, the Titans smoked Tampa Bay. And this was a ragtag bunch. Like Ferkser and Westbrook-Akina and Chester Rogers versus the Bucs. And Arians had a press conference, and he was not happy about how camp was going. And then Brady had his infamous, is Tannehill that MFer, that kind of. Brady had that infamous press conference. And before I asked the questions about Tannehill that made all the headlines, they were obviously, the Tampa Bay media was asking Brady about the practice. And, these are the defending Super Bowl champions, and they don't look very good in practice. And the Titans absolutely took it to him in that practice. And Brady was pretty blunt and frustrated and obvious about it. And
but I would expect that from Tom Brady.
I could tell Brady in the way, I forget exactly what Brady was saying, but I remember a facial expression Brady made where Brady was talking about, we have time to get things fixed and we need to get them fixed, but we're kind of running out of time, as in like, I'm kind of losing my patience with these freaking guys. I've never felt Tannehill do something like that. And I'm not saying Tannehill has to be Tom Brady or anything like that, but I do think there's a difference. Tannehill's never going to walk to the podium and say that he's going to put a foot up somebody's rear end. And I also have never seen Tannehill in the 4 years he's been the quarterback here, this being the fourth. I've never seen Tannehill put his foot up somebody's rear end. I've seen Brady chew out Josh McDaniels on the sidelines. I've seen Brady and Bill O'Brien almost fight on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. The most I saw was Tannehill telling Des Fitzpatrick to run his route right. That's it. And I was glad to see it. And I'd like to see more of that. But it is something that I do think about. I know I shouldn't think about it, but it is something I do think about.
Do you think Matt Ryan was maybe overcompensating, considering what they had, the lack of leadership last year?
I do feel like the Indianapolis Colts, it's a solid, 55 people are, down on their knees saying, please, Matt, be our leader, be our savior. It's like the cult is already formed, and they're just looking for the guy to bring the Kool-Aid with them. And Matt Ryan's the guy with the Kool-Aid. And when I say 55, I'm talking about 52 players. The owner, the coach, and the general manager are all on their knees like, Matt Ryan, please show us the way, Matt. We need you to show us the way. And to Ian's point, Matt's getting up there like, all right, I'm the captain of this team, and everybody's going to do what I say. And the Colts players and coach and owner, oh, yes, Matt Ryan, please do that for us. I do think that's probably part of it.
And I understand that the margin between the Colts and the Titans at this point, in my opinion, is razor thin. And any advantage that the Colts have is obviously a disadvantage to the Titans. And leadership being one of those things that is an advantage. But I do wonder, once the season starts, if the Colts do have a rocky start, when are the players going to get fed up with Matt Ryan? Like, hey, dude, we don't want to hear it from you right now. We don't want your foot up our rear end because we just lost.
Oh, I don't see that happening. Not the losing. The losing I think could happen. But I don't see the Colts players getting fed up with Matt Ryan. Think about it. Matt Ryan was in Atlanta for how long?
His entire career.
It wasn't like they got fed up with Matt Ryan. They wanted to keep Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan just didn't want to be there anymore.
I don't know. I just wonder, right now in training camp, everything's great. Everything's awesome. The glass is half full.
For every team. I think
for every
Russell
team.
Wilson. I could see Russell Wilson. I could see Denver turning on Russell Wilson because here's the difference between Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson. I find Matt Ryan to be authentic.
And I was just about to say, I view, the word gilded?
Yes.
It's something normal but just dipped in gold paint. That's how I view Russell Wilson.
Yeah. My thing is...
fake.
The Titans love Tannehill, the players, because he's authentic.
Yeah.
Him not sticking a foot up somebody's rear end, that's just who he is. That's just what, and I wish he would be, but I understand. But he's authentic. They love Marcus. Marcus is authentic. They love Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard and Derrick Henry are authentic. That's what I think really matters in the league. And, Carson Wentz sits there and talks about the Bible all day and then is a bad teammate and a selfish guy. And then, that's not authentic.
No.
And I think that rubs people the wrong way.
A locker room can see right through that.
Whereas I feel like Matt Ryan, his thing, now he's not as good as Russell Wilson, but his thing I feel like is more authentic. Russell Wilson, I think Russell Wilson tries to pretend to be humble, but I feel as if Russell Wilson's really arrogant.
Well, wearing his own jersey to training camp day one.
What a chotch move.
It's such a chotch move.
What a chotch move. Let's get to some phones. 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
One texter texts in and says about Tannehill throwing a lot of interceptions last year. Says, Jared's argument is that Tannehill threw a lot of interceptions, so he had a bad season. Is that what I'm misunderstanding, or is that right?
My argument, let me just make this clear for everybody because apparently my arguments totally get taken out of context. Tannehill threw a lot of interceptions in training camp. Tannehill threw a lot of interceptions in the regular season. Tannehill threw a lot of interceptions in the postseason. 2021 training camp, Tannehill didn't throw a lot of interceptions. The regular season, Tannehill didn't throw a lot of interceptions. In the playoffs, he did throw one crucial interception, but he didn't throw a lot of them. In 2019, Tannehill didn't throw a lot of interceptions in training camp or preseason games because he did play preseason games. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions in the games. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions in the playoffs. That's my point, is that it foreshadows, last year foreshadowed the season that he had. That's the point I'm making. And maybe they're completely mutually exclusive, but it didn't feel that way to me. 615-737-1025. The Titans had an unexpected visitor today at training camp. I want to get to that because I do have a thought on Ric Flair showing up at practice today. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Ample Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Our stormy pattern continues right into Friday with scattered showers possible containing heavy rain. Highs will top off in the upper 80s, still feeling muggy as we head into the weekend. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Blood Assurance, Middle Tennessee's only nonprofit blood centers, announces their Racing to Save Lives promotion. Blood Assurance invites folks to donate at any of their Middle Tennessee locations. Each of the following centers will be giving away a pair of tickets to the Music City Grand Prix. Promotion runs now through July 31st. Visit your Blood Assurance donation center in Bellevue, Clarksville, Columbia, Cookeville, Cool Springs, Hermitage, or Tullahoma. Walk-ins are welcome, or you can go to bloodassurance.org/schedule to make an appointment.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach. And let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
From installing a smart garage door opener, to installing a bathroom faucet, to removing a tree, the Home Depot believes you can do anything, especially the things we have how-to guides for. Visit HomeDepot.com for thousands of tips, workshops, and ideas for projects, big and small. The Home Depot app. how doers get more done.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Why did you invite Rick Flair here, and how much you think the players enjoyed him?
Well, I know they enjoyed it. I know everybody enjoyed it. Knew that he was coming in for the weekend. He'll be celebrating his final match on Sunday of an amazing, long, successful, sustained career. And so just invited him over. Was able to visit with him before practice, and I thought he would love to talk to the players, which he was. He was excited to come over here. He brings an energy and excitement and passion, and I know that they appreciated it. And I did. I certainly enjoyed seeing him and getting to talk to him.
Woo! Ric Flair shows up at Titans practice today. So I'm walking in after I went on the morning show, and as Matt Ryan would say, put a foot on Joe Rexrode's rear end on the morning show today. And I'm walking into practice, and I see this black SUV pull up, and it looked like, Joe Biden was showing up.
Like with a posse?
Yeah, well, It looked like, because it was like an old guy, and, Biden and Ric Flair kind of have similar
Definitely
hairstyles.
different outfits.
Very different outfits. But so, it looked like they were pulling up to the facility, and I'm like, who's that? Burt Reynolds? And all of a sudden, out pops Ric Flair. And I am not a wrestling person. Let me, state for the record.
But it's Ric Flair.
I hate wrestling. I know a lot of people like wrestling. I think wrestling is stupid. I think, I judge people who like wrestling, even though I shouldn't.
Why?
Oh, when Vrabel was talking today.
You are a fun sucker.
So when Vrabel was talking today, I knew the players were going to love Ric Flair.
Of course.
I knew that Ric Flair was going to be a big hit at practice. And if I was the coach and I had the opportunity to have Ric Flair at practice, I would have had Ric Flair at practice too. But I'm not a wrestling fan. And I'm kind of surprised Vrabel's a wrestling fan, and I don't know why. I don't know why I was surprised, but Vrabel's sitting there. Here he is in training camp. And they're like, Coach, are you going to go to SummerSlam on Sunday? I plan to go to SummerSlam on Sunday. Like, hey, you know what? More power to you. I used to get, kind of aggressive about how anti-wrestling I was.
Yeah, what is your beef? Why can't you just let people have fun things?
Because I don't think wrestling is... I'm trying to think of the best way to say this.
Okay.
I know people love wrestling. I know wrestling is popular.
Yeah.
I know that there are things that I don't like that are popular. I get it. But
Careful.
Yeah. So Chase and Ladarius is our on-site engineer who does a fantastic job. Ladarius and Chase were walking in early to practice to set up for the midday show. And I saw them walking in. And then I saw Ric Flair pull up. And I texted Chase. I go, turn around. Woo! And Chase was like, oh, sorry, I already went in. And he had no idea what I was talking about. I'm like, Chase, Ric Flair was right behind you.
He would pee in his pants.
And I knew that because he loves wrestling.
Loves wrestling.
Loves wrestling.
I think Ladarius does too.
Everybody except for me likes wrestling.
Yeah.
And and so it's so I don't know, wrestling. So
it's fun.
Do you like wrestling?
Yes. So at the very beginning of the pandemic, when there was nothing else on TV,
why do you like wrestling?
I got so into WWE because I was just locked in an apartment, and WWE was on ESPN.
Did you like
all
it before
day,
that?
all night? I had no problems with wrestling. I just never got into it.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
I don't have one. But I got so into WWE, the reruns on ESPN, where I just turned it on just for background noise, and then I found myself going, go, 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 go. Yeah! I got so into it. It's fun. It's silly.
I know it's popular.
It's silly.
I get it. It's popular. I understand. It's like drinking beer. I don't really like beer. I know beer is popular. I get it.
I would argue maybe even more popular than wrestling.
I think those two are very Venn diagram in the middle right there. Beer, people who like wrestling, I believe, people who like wrestling like beer for the most part.
Because people who like wrestling and like beer also like good and fun things.
Maybe I'm just no fun.
I maybe so.
I don't know. I guess I was a little surprised. I don't know why I think Vrabel is. It's not like I look at Vrabel as the hallmark of academia. You know, like I would assume.
I don't think that you should, because I don't think he is.
Like if we were to sit around with the presidents of the Ivy Leagues, and I were to say who here is going to SummerSlam on Sunday, how many of them would put their hands in the air?
I plan to go to SummerSlam on Sunday. I don't know, maybe a few of them. You never know.
I agree. You never know. And there are plenty of intelligent people I know that like wrestling.
So my grandfather is probably the smartest human being I've ever met my whole entire life. Like, he spent time in the military. He's a doctor, very tailored. Like, everything is scheduled. Everything is planned. Everything is steamed. Everything is perfectly clean. The biggest NASCAR fan I've ever met in my life. So some people surprise you.
But at least NASCAR's a real sport.
Oh, you were not saying that whenever we were talking about NASCAR a few months ago.
No. I've never doubted NASCAR's ability
Oh,
to
well, I
actually
mean,
be a
WWE
competition.
is...
It's fake.
Yeah.
But I've never doubted, I've never doubted the WWE's popularity.
But if you're not a fan of NASCAR, you could be on the outside looking in and say, oh, that's so,
here's
whatever.
what I don't understand about NASCAR is if you and I were to both drive, and I'm a faster driver than you on a consistent basis, why would you be faster than me next week?
Because of conditions, because of your car, because of your pit crew.
But isn't my pit crew the same and my car the same every week?
But conditions aren't the same.
Now, I will say this.
No, someone in your pit crew could drop something, and then that's 2 seconds.
If I had to pick between wrestling or NASCAR and I had to watch one or the other, 100% wrestling.
Yeah, it's more entertaining.
But I also don't get enjoyment. First of all, I'm pretty anti-violence in general. But I do not get
Well, it's not really violence.
They take chairs and hit them over the back of the head with it.
Yeah,
those aren't
chairs.
No, those are real chairs. Ian, back me up.
I mean, they look like real chairs.
They're real chairs.
Okay, so
I don't know how hard they get
Yeah.
hit with them, but
It sounds like they get hit hard. I mean, these wrestlers get hurt now.
they do sustain injuries. That is true.
Just because, if I were to take
I mean, if we're going to talk about a violence scale, I think WWE is very low on the scale of violence.
Well, I don't like
boxing or like MMA.
So I
way
don't,
more violent.
I like boxing fine. I don't like UFC, MMA. I don't like any of
Yeah.
that because I don't want to see some guy's shin bone pop out or something. Like, I'm not interested in that. But I don't question the competition element of those two.
That's real athletes. Like, you have to train for that.
Yeah, I mean, the WWE, I do like, I did get on a kick where I would watch the videos of The Rock, telling people hit your smell, and the whole place would go crazy, and I really did enjoy that.
What The Rock is cooking.
And I love the announcers of wrestling because they take it super seriously.
Yeah,
it's
they do.
Oh my God, did you just hear? Oh, I know. He just went out there and he just threw his chair right into his rear end. Whatever. I shouldn't say that I judge Vrabel for being a wrestling fan. I was just surprised. And I don't know why I was surprised that Vrabel was a wrestling fan, but I found that to be very interesting. The players, when they were walking off the field today after talking to Ric Flair, they were like, oh, man, I'll tell you, this guy, that one, this, that, they were all about wrestling. That's it for us. We're out of here. We'll be live at First Horizon Park tomorrow for the Sounds, so get excited about that. ESPN Radio fits